Chapter 542. Itachi Uchiha was silent, although Hinata didn't answer his question directly. These words also made him understand Hinata's purpose. Everything is for the clan. Although in Itachi Uchiha's view, the significance of the village, country, and ninja world is far greater than the clan. But when he thinks of the declining Kekkai Genkai clans, Itachi Uchiha can't blame Hinata and Hyuga for some of their practices. Especially Hinata's view on the Uzumaki clan. It also made Itachi Uchiha see a deeper darkness. There is indeed an irreconcilable contradiction between civilian ninjas and ninja clans, especially Kekkai Genkai clans. Secret jutsu clans are fine. In the end, it's just a kind of ninjutsu. But Kekkai Genkai is innate. When a Kekkai Genkai clans face an ordinary ninja, it's like a noble looking down on a civilian, with a hint of innate pride. However, in most cases, the side with more people often has the advantage of public opinion. The minority obeys the majority. The law doesn't punish the majority. Many words have proved this point, and many people are very useful in most cases. The three generations are not as charitable as you think. Hinata didn't mean to insult the three generations. It can only be said that the positions of the two sides are different, and the ass determines the head. Since Sarutobi is sitting in Naruto's position, he naturally has to think from Naruto's point of view. About your Uchiha, I have also discussed with Sasuke several times. Hinata continued. In fact, you should also understand. In the end, you are just a poor guy who has been brainwashed by the will of fire. In the end, Hinata was also dispirited. There is nothing to argue with Itachi Uchiha. A ninja with a strong will not be so easily shaken. Everyone has their own choice, and they have to be responsible for their own choices. Opening the Tensigen and connecting to the satellite, Hinata found Sasuke's position on the island. Sasuke. Hinata? Have you opened your eyes? Yes. Come to the south of the island. Is Itachi okay? Sasuke. In the woods, Sasuke suddenly stopped. Where is Hinata? So that space-time ninjutsu is also Hinata's method? Hinata was really unfathomable, laughing emoji. After informing Sasuke of Itachi's specific location, Hinata turned to Itachi Uchiha and said, I have to go. Sasuke will be here soon. Will be here. Will be here. Itachi nodded slightly. Thank you. Teleport sensei. SSSSS positions S's teleport instantly teleport. S run test teleport run. In the cave, Jiraiya was patiently comforting Naruto. This time, he was captured by the enemy and used to blackmail Jiraiya and Hinata, which was a huge blow to Naruto. After returning from training with Jiraiya, Naruto thought that he could finally bring Sasuke back, but he was defeated by Sasuke in just one encounter. It wasn't easy for him to practice the Raisin Shuriken, but he was easily captured in just one encounter. Even the cheerful Naruto couldn't help but feel depressed at this time. After Hinata returned to the cave, he saw this scene. You're back. Jiraiya greeted. Yes. Hinata nodded and said, I went to Sasuke's side to take a look. Sasuke? Naruto suddenly looked up at Hinata. Hinata explained. The battle between Sasuke and Itachi is over. Sasuke won. I wanted to bring Sasuke back, but the masked man was one step ahead of me. He used space-time ninjutsu to take Sasuke and Itachi away together. There was nothing to hide about this kind of thing. After all, after Jiraiya took Naruto away, Hinata and Pain didn't fight. And Hinata went to find Sasuke. Can this be called colluding with the enemy? This is called bondage, okay? In Shinobu, as long as the word bondage is associated with it, many mistakes can be easily forgiven. What's more, Hinata didn't do anything wrong. Jiraiya just nodded slightly when he heard this, but Naruto bowed his head again and didn't say a word. Jiraiya felt very distressed looking at him. Stepping forward and gently kicking Naruto, Hinata curled his lips and said, Okay. If you don't have enough strength, then practice hard. After returning to the village, master the power of 9 tails as soon as possible. Naruto put his hand on his stomach, and his expression became even more depressed. The previous situation was so dangerous. Naruto frantically called 9 tails in his heart, but 9 tails didn't even pay attention to him. Jiraiya patted Naruto's shoulder and said in a stern tone, "Hinata is right. If you don't have enough strength, then practice hard. This is not like you, Naruto." In the end, Uzumaki Naruto, after the persuasion of Hinata and Jiraiya, he quickly cheered up and said that sooner or later, he would teach Ninetales a lesson and recognize him as Uzumaki Naruto as his big brother. After comforting Naruto, Jiraiya got up and said, "I'm going to the mist and bring back some food. You two stay in the cave." "Got it." Hinata waved his hand, and after Jiraiya left, he turned to Naruto and said, "I want to think about a new ninjutsu. Naruto, don't let anyone disturb me." After saying that, Hinata walked towards the depths of the cave. Naruto shouted behind him, "Too cunning." Hinata is already so strong, but he still wants to develop a new ninjutsu. "No, I also want to continue to study new ninjutsu." The success of using genjutsu made Hinata feel that there are still many functions in his body that have not been developed. Although the lethality of genjutsu is not strong, when it comes to auxiliary combat, genjutsu is definitely the best in the ninja world. Hinata will not give up such a strong ability. Imagine, in an evenly matched battle, even if the enemy is in a trance for a moment, he will be killed instantly. And the powerful genjutsu in the ninja world can even be called a bug ability. Tsukuyomi could create a mental world where the flow of time was completely different from the real world. Koto Amatsukami could rewrite a person's will. Izanagi could freely switch between reality and dreams. There was no need to mention Izanami. She could let people who had lost themselves find their true selves. Above, they are all genjutsu of Sharingan, and have nothing to do with Byakugan. This made Hinata very depressed. Without the Tensigen, the Byakugan wouldn't be as good as the Sharingan. However, Hinata still has the same words, as long as the understanding and control of chakra reaches a certain level. All dojutsu can be turned into ninjutsu. The will of Azura can be called infinite Koto Amatsukami, and it can silently change the will of others. I can ask Sasuke for advice. Hinata thought to himself. After all, Hinata has already given Sasuke a lot of favors, and it is time to reap the rewards. Just use genjutsu and Bijou chakra to repay me. Sasuke is with Itachi at the moment. Itachi will definitely guide Sasuke in cultivation and pass on the secret techniques of the Uchiha clan to Sasuke. 3 years ago, Hinata had planted a seed named Sasuke. Over the past 3 years, she had been constantly watering and fertilizing it. She had been taking good care of it, and now, it was finally the harvest season. Chapter 543. You are my little apple, no matter how much I love you, I will never find it too much. Returning to Shinobu again, Hinata was obviously in a very good mood. The harvest this time could be said to be perfect. The matter between Sasuke and Sasuke was settled. On the way back, Hinata also took the opportunity to contact Sasuke and explain his request. Itachi Uchiha is known as a genius in genjutsu, and his achievements in genjutsu can be said to be the strongest in the ninja world. Not to mention those ordinary genjutsu, Itachi Uchiha knows about the existence of Izanagi and Izanami. Over the years, his understanding of Tsukuyomi has also reached an extremely high level. In addition, after Sasuke changes his eyes, Itachi Uchiha will use Shirsue's eyes, so he can more or less understand Koto Amatsukami. Hinata has done such a great favor to the Uchiha brothers, so it's not too much to learn some genjutsu, right? As for Sasuke, Hinata also made clear arrangements. Hinata originally wanted to rope in Sasuke, but Sasuke wanted to revitalize Uchiha at that time, and didn't want to be a vassal of Hyuga, so he decided to walk his own path. Hinata, of course, did his best to cooperate with Sasuke, and even acted out a good show of killing each other. But after this incident, Sasuke obviously can't return to bordered soil. However, Sasuke is alone, and if he wants to get information, he can only start with Hinata. Therefore, Hinata mentioned the mystery of the Nine Tails chakra to Sasuke, so that Sasuke can find an opportunity to sneak into the organizations and take the opportunity to seize the chakra of the tailed beasts. In the following period of time, Sasuke's strength would enter a stage of rapid development. Hinata is preparing to find time to leave Shinobu and have a high-intensity battle with Sasuke, so that Sasuke can master the power of Manjikyu Sharingan as soon as possible, and then help Sasuke open the Eternal Eye. After mastering Eternal Eyes, he directly fused with Hashirama's cells and opened Rinnegan. Sasuke's eyes and Otsutsuki Kagaya are of the same origin. Even if it is mixed with a part of the power of Uraiji, it doesn't matter. With the Rinnegan's power, Sasuke may be able to snatch the control of the Geto Mazo from Nagato, and easily take away the 9 Bija's chakra. In fact, Hinata and Sasuke were the same. Even if they absorbed the chakra, the most essential power was the same as Kagaya's. However, the Tenseigan couldn't control the Geto Mazo, so Hinata could only ask Sasuke for help with the Bija chakra. With the double protection of Black Zetsu and Sasuke, there would be basically no problems. Back at the Hyuga residence, Hinata didn't hide anything and told Hyogo about what happened during this trip, asking this old fox to help him analyze whether there were any loopholes. To be honest, Hinata actually admired Hyogo. The period of the 3 generations was the period when the Kekkei Genkai clans were destroyed one after another. Hyogo was able to lead the Hyuga clan through that darkness. His ability was self-evident. In fact, the destruction of the Kekkei Genkai clans was Black Zetsu's fault. But even if Black Zetsu used people's hearts, it was because there was a dark side in people's hearts. Of course, as a sensible person, Hinata didn't feel that there was anything wrong with this. The human heart has 2 sides, dark and light, which is inevitable. Good and evil depends on oneself, survival and destruction depends on means and ability. Hinata stood from the point of view of the victim and the weak, and in front of Itachi Uchiha, he slandered the 3 generations Naruto, which was also a kind of means. A wise big boss has always represented justice. Those big bosses who boasted of their strength were arrogant and stood on the opposite side of the people. None of them had a good ending. Hinata was a sensible person. After listening to Hinata's account of the mission, Hyogo thought about it several times in his mind, and then nodded and said, "Well done." In this way, under the checks and balances of various parties, our Hyuga clan can hide in the dark and not be so eye-catching. Hinata couldn't agree with Hyogo's words at all. How can I be low-key when I'm so dazzling? Seeing Hinata's unconvinced expression, Hyogo just said lightly, "Of course this doesn't include you." Before the organizations were fully active, Hinata and the Hyuga clan were indeed the targets of the whole ninja world. It's just that no one dared to act because of Hinata's strength. In addition, the Hyuga clan had the caged bird curse, which had no effect on the branch family's ninjas. Now that the organizations launched an operation to capture the Bijou, although Hinata was still so dazzling and moving, the Hyuga clan gradually left people's sight. Now that the big boss's tentative fight is over, the next step will be to maintain a consensus for a considerable period of time. The organizations will continue to capture the Bijou, but the big boss behind the scenes will no longer take action. As for the next fight, it will be when the organizations are about to gather the Bijou. Right? Hinata asked, "How is the clan's cultivation now?" Hyogo replied, "The progress is not bad. At present, most of the clansmen are stuck at the level of perceiving natural energy. After all, they need to calm their mind, and the adult mind is too complicated. And this place is not suitable for practicing sage mode." Hinata nodded slightly. It doesn't matter if the progress is slow, as long as there is hope. As long as they can cultivate sage mode, they can control natural energy, and Hinata can help them to place the yin-yang seal to store natural energy in their bodies, and begin the official journey of cultivation. With the yin-yang seal, it is equivalent to living in an environment like the 3 Holy Lands. As long as the clansmen work hard, they may not be able to reach the 6 paths level, but the Super Kage level may not be impossible. And with natural energy as a supplement, they may not be able to live more than 1,000 years like the Toad Sage, but they can at least extend their life by a few hundred years, right? For a clan, this is enough. As for stronger power, that will have to wait for Hinata to reach a higher level. If Hinata wants to live comfortably, he must have an absolute suppression of the clansmen in terms of strength. In the future, the clansmen will have to deal with enemies that they can defeat, and then let them fight. Just like Hinata's investment in Sasuke, he will pay first, and when Sasuke's strength improves, Hinata can wait for the return. Hinata secretly calculated in his heart. And after feeling that there is no problem, he said goodbye to Hyogo, and prepared to take a bath, eat, and sleep. Hinata! Hyogo suddenly called Hinata, and was silent for a moment, and then said in a deep voice, "Although our plan is going smoothly at present, the more it is so, the more mysterious the existence of the three holy lands is." The Hyuga clan only ate some pills made of snake meat, and it significantly improved their physique. The original special Jonin and Jounin also reached the Kage level 1 after another. Once they learn Sage Mode, the strength of these clansmen will inevitably have a qualitative leap. However, the three holy lands have existed for thousands of years. I know. Hinata looked back at Hyogo and chuckled. But I think there are still some differences between humans and animals. Chapter 544. Puppet Jutsu Inyang Release Taijutsu plus Genjutsu. In the bedroom, Hinata sat at the desk, fiddling with the practice experience he had painstakingly sorted out. It has been a month since the end of the Sambai incident. Naruto is now going to mount Myaboku with Jiraiya to practice Sage Mode. Sasuke has also changed Itachi Uchiha's eyes. Once the Eternal Eye is opened, he can immediately transplant Hashirama's cells to awaken Rinnegan. Hinata is also staying at home all day, learning Genjutsu and Inyang Release. However, as the big boss behind the scenes, Hinata can't focus on practice like Naruto and Sasuke, and occasionally has to pay attention to the intelligence of the ninja world. Organizations accelerated the process of capturing Bijou. After the Sambai, the Yambi, Gobi, and Rokubi also fell into the hands of organizations. The Nambai's Jinchuriki is just a genin of Waterfall Village, and can't escape the pursuit of organizations. Although the Hachibi's Jinchuriki is troublesome, the organizations still have Pain, Bordered Soil, Konan Black Zetsu Orochimaru, Ghost Mackerel, Kakuzu, Haiden, and others. Compared to their heyday, they are only lacking Deidara and Sasori. With such strength, the organizations can directly rush into Cloud Village and kidnap the Hachibi. In the face of the aggressive organizations, the 5 major ninja villages can't work together, and they even plot against each other. In the years after the Third World War, the relationship between the 5 major ninja villages has indeed eased. However, since the collapse of Shinobu's plan, coupled with Hinata's obstruction, the 5 major ninja villages have been fighting a lot for the Edo Tensei. When people die, hatred will be born. The 5 major ninja villages who are hostile to each other can't cooperate at all. Even if the bijou of each village is taken away by the organizations, no ninja village will say anything. In fact, the situation in the original work was similar. If it weren't for Sasuke's kidnapping of Killer Bee, Reikich's leadership of the 5 Kages Conference, and Bordered Soil's impersonation of Uchiha Madara, to publicize the Eye of the Moon plan, declaring war on the 5 great ninja villages. Even in the original work, the 5 great ninja villages may not be able to join forces. The purpose of Reikich's convening of the 5 Kages Convention is to hold the other villages responsible. In his previous life, Hinata had also thought that Reikich held the 5 Kages Conference because he already had the intention of joining forces with the other villages, but he couldn't say it out loud because of his face. But thinking about it carefully, this was absolutely impossible. When the 5 Kages Conference was held, the members of the organizations were almost all dead. Even the leader of the organizations, Nagato, died in the hands of Uzumaki Naruto when he attacked Shinobu. Even in the original manga, this was the case, not to mention the 5 great ninja villages with deeper contradictions. And now that Ninetales has a spare, the organizations only need to get Nanabai and Hachibi to directly resurrect Otsutsuki Kagaya. But, once the Nanabai and Hachibi are taken by the organizations, it will be the time of Nagato's death. Thinking of this, Hinata was a little distressed. Jiraiya is now teaching Naruto to practice Sage Mode, and has no intention of going to Amigakure to investigate. In fact, Jiraiya went to Amigakure to investigate in the original work, to find out the identity and ability of the organization's leader. But now that Nagato's information has been exposed, and Hinata can fight pain, it doesn't matter if Jiraiya doesn't go to Amigakure to investigate. But if Jiraiya doesn't go to Amigakure to investigate, Hinata can't go to Amigakure to kill Nagato in the name of rescue. Hinata can leave a wood clone in Shinobu, and use the omniscient omnipotence to go to Amigakure to fight Nagato in the Imperial City. But once Hinata and Nagato fight, Hinata's information will be leaked immediately. In addition, Hinata has to take advantage of Nagato's exhaustion to use the Tensigan's spiritual sphere to control Nagato to use the Rinsei Tensei Jutsu to resurrect Uchiha Madara. And Sasuke will also take the opportunity to use Rinsei to compete with Nagato for control of the Geto Mazo and seize the 9 Bija's chakra source. This was going to be difficult to deal with. If Hinata wants to continue to stay in Shinobu, he can't appear alone in Amigakure without a mission. Hinata sighed, this is difficult. But it's not impossible. Although Hinata wants to fight Nagato to the top of Amigakure, if he can't fight openly, then he can only use ninja means. Assassination. With the power of omniscient omnipotence, Hinata can easily injure Nagato's body, and then use the spiritual sphere to control Nagato. As long as no one sees Hinata appear in Amigakure. Bordered Soil should also take the opportunity to snatch the Rinsei, right? Hinata thought secretly. Bordered Soil has been lurking in the mist for many years, and he has already found out the truth of Rin's death. In addition, Uchiha Madara saved him with bad intentions, and he left a seal in his body to control him. This is the hatred of killing his wife. What's more, Bordered Soil doesn't want his life in the hands of others. That's it. But I have to communicate with Black Zetsu first to understand the next movement of the organizations. With his thoughts clear, Hinata no longer worried about these things, lowered his head and began to concentrate on learning Genjutsu. Rain Country, Amigakure. The sky was dark, and Pain was sitting on the tongue of a huge statue, letting the rain fall on his shoulders, looking at the panoramic view of the Amigakure, recalling his thoughts. Almost 20 years. It's been almost 20 years since Yahiko's death. Pain. No, Nagato has been carefully planning for nearly 20 years, and now only the Nanabi and the Hachibi are away from the final success. His ambition is about to succeed, but Nagato didn't have the slightest joy in his heart. If possible, he doesn't want to do these things at all. And the closer he is to success, the more Nagato has an unspeakable panic in his heart, as if something bad is about to happen. Whoosh! Pieces of paper flew, and Conan condensed behind Pain. He's here. Pain, that person. Nagato once regarded him as a guide, the guy who called himself Uchiha Madara. Although he said that he was seriously injured in the battle with Hashirama and lost part of his power. However, recent events have made Nagato question his identity. A person's strength can regress, but his strategy means knowledge and temperament won't change much. Before this, the reason why Nagato believed that Bordered Soil was Uchiha Madara was because 15 years ago, Bordered Soil controlled the Nine Tails to attack Shinobu. But with the failure of Bordered Soil several times, the identity of Uchiha Madara seemed to be somewhat unworthy. He was a peerless powerhouse during the Warring States period, and he established the Shinobu Hidden Village with Hashirama, and finally fought Hashirama in the Valley of the End. Such a person, Pain slowly got up and said, "Let's go." Chapter 545. Shinobu sent someone to Waterfall Village. As soon as Pain entered the room, he heard the bad news from White Zetsu's voice. Shinobu. Among the 5 major ninja villages, only Shinobu is obsessed with fighting against the organizations. Although other ninja villages also see the organizations as enemies, except for the Kage of each village, no one else can pose a threat to the organizations. Hinata? Conan asked with a frown. White Zetsu said. No, Shinobu wants to let the Nanabi Jinchuriki go to Shinobu to avoid the limelight. The ones sent to Waterfall Village are Hataki Kakashi, Sarutobi Asuma, and Mato Gai. Pain ignored White Zetsu, and his purple Rinnegan turned to Bordered Soil and said, Madara-san. The spiral mask covered Bordered Soil's expression, and only a scarlet Sharingan looked at Pain through the mask. By now, Bordered Soil certainly knows that his identity has aroused the suspicion of all parties. Fortunately, the plan is going well. As long as the Nanabi and the Hachibi are captured, it doesn't matter whether he is Uchiha Bordered Soil or Uchiha Madara. Strength is everything. However, if you want to get strength, you must get the Rinnegan. Bordered Soil now only has the Kamui Sharingan, would release and fire release, and such strength can barely reach the Kage level. If it weren't for the special space-time ninjutsu, he would have died many times. You need to deal with the Hachibi personally. Bordered Soil said bluntly. Conan looked at Bordered Soil gloomily, then turned to look at Pain, but didn't say anything. Conan is very confident in Pain's strength. No one in the ninja world is Pain's opponent except for Hinata. Even if the Hachibi's Jinchuriki is training in the Cloud Village, Pain can break into the Cloud Village and take the Hachibi. Pain nodded slightly, and his eyes became sharper as he looked at Bordered Soil. Seeing this, Inyang Zetsu also turned to look at Bordered Soil to see how Bordered Soil would deal with it. After years of planning and joining forces with Hinata, Bordered Soil is no longer so important in Black Zetsu's heart's heart. Edo Tensei combined Hinata's Tensigan ability is enough to resurrect Uchiha Madara. Once Uchiha Madara appears in his heyday, it's infinite Tsukuyomi. The Sharingan, the Sharingan. Xiao Nan stood behind Pain, ready to make a move. The Cloud Village is the ninja village of the fighting sect. With the relationship between the Reikage and the Hachibi's Jinchuriki, we have to be ready for war. Bordered Soil's tone was calm and full of majesty, but by then, we are almost ready. Let's start with the Cloud Village. Pain heard this and nodded slightly to Bordered Soil. Nagato's plan was to provoke the Ninja World War, and then use the ultimate weapon made by the nine-tailed beasts to level the ninja world. As long as everyone in the ninja world witnessed the destructive power that destroyed everything, no one would dare to start a war. At that time, Nagato, who has mastered the ultimate weapon, can rely on deterrence to weaken the power of the major ninja villages until the world is unified. As for the identity of Bordered Soil, in fact, if Bordered Soil just explained his identity, he would seem a little guilty. But whether he is Uchiha Madara or not, it's impossible to fight against the power of Rinnegan. When the nine-tailed beasts are gathered, Nagato's power is enough to become a real god. At that time, whether it's Hinata or the nine tails in Uzumaki Naruto's body, they can't continue to stop Nagato's footsteps. The space rotated slightly and absorbed Bordered Soil, and the Scarlet Sharingan looked deeply at Nagato before it disappeared. Then I will continue to collect information. White Zetsu jokingly said. Don't worry about the Waterfall Village. If Konoha wants to transfer the Nanabai Jinchuriki, they will definitely send Hyuga Hinata to protect it secretly. After that, Zetsu sank into the ground and disappeared. Pain. Conan looked at Pain with a worried face. We are getting closer and closer to success, and Madara is likely to attack you. Pain said in a deep voice. No one can fight against the power of God. That guy is very scheming, and he is likely to use the power of the 5 great ninja villages to deal with us. Looking deeply at Pain, Conan said. After all, there can only be one person who rules the world. Pain was silent when he heard this, but he didn't continue to say anything. Conan's words are not unreasonable. The structure of a force is like a pyramid, and there can only be one person standing at the top. Why did Hanzo deal with the organizations by hook or by crook? Wasn't it because the organizations threatened his rule over the Rain Village? Although the guy who claimed to be Uchiha Madara seems to be assisting Nagato at this moment, as long as you think about it a little, you know that his purpose is not so simple. I will be careful. The Land of Water, a small wooden house in a valley. Sasuke sat on the bed with a layer of bandages over his eyes. Although he couldn't see anything, he asked Itachi Uchiha faintly, "What are you going to do next?" Sasuke can feel that the Eternal Eye is about to awaken, and he will eventually leave here to go his own way. Itachi Uchiha handed the teacup to Sasuke and slowly said, "I will find a village to live in." Taking a sip of the teacup, Sasuke said with some reluctance, "Now everyone is fighting for it. Even if it's for the name of Uchiha, you can't." Before his voice fell, Itachi Uchiha interrupted, "I have no power." In Itachi Uchiha's eyes, there was only a pair of pure black pupils. In the end, he didn't accept Shirsue's eyes. Sasuke heard this and asked coldly, "Shinobu?" Itachi Uchiha's movements paused slightly. He was indeed still thinking about Shinobu. It's fine to say that he was blindly loyal or brainwashed, but that's Itachi Uchiha's belief in his life. Today Shinobu seems to be strong, but it's also facing internal and external troubles. Needless to say, Itachi Uchiha has been lurking in the organizations for many years, and it's not like he didn't find anything. That day, he questioned Hinata because he found clues about the collusion between the Hyuga clan and Orochimaru. And the truth may be far more than that. However, Itachi Uchiha also knows very well that even if he knows more, it's impossible to report it to Shinobu. He knows Hinata's ability very well. Even if she is far away, she can monitor your every move and even hear every word you say. And with the current strength of Hinata and the Hyuga clan, once forced out of Shinobu, it will definitely cause huge losses to Shinobu. Itachi Uchiha whispered. Itachi Uchiha is dead. Sasuke snorted coldly when he heard this, and seemed to be dismissive of Itachi Uchiha's statement. Sasuke knows Itachi very well. Since he survived, he will definitely continue to live as a shinobu. Especially now that the ninja world is turbulent, Itachi Uchiha can't rest assured about Shinobu. He didn't want to say anything because he was worried about the relationship between Sasuke and Hinata. Chapter 546. Inside the cabin, Sasuke and Itachi were speechless. The gap between their positions and ideals has doomed the two brothers to go in opposite directions in the future. At this time, Sasuke only has the Uchiha clan in his heart. He wants to revitalize the clan and bring glory to the name of the Uchiha, and become an immortal powerhouse like Otsutsuki Kagaya. Itachi Uchiha, on the other hand, firmly believes in his position as a shinobu and wants to contribute to the village and the ninja world. Different choices, no right or wrong. It can only be said that Shinobu's brainwashing of Itachi Uchiha was successful, and Hinata's brainwashing of Sasuke was also successful. After a moment of silence, Sasuke stretched out his hand and pulled the bandage. In the center of the hexagram Sharingan, the black shuriken pattern was clearly visible. The eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. Itachi. Sasuke looked at Itachi Uchiha coldly, and the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan looked directly at Itachi Uchiha's black pupils. Itachi Uchiha also looked at Sasuke with a calm face, as if he turned a blind eye to Sasuke's threat. Slowly getting up, Sasuke said coldly, "I'm leaving." Putting the sword of Kusanagi on his back waist, Sasuke walked towards the wooden door without saying a word. Itachi Uchiha watched Sasuke's back disappear at the end of his vision, and his calm eyes flashed with a complicated color. After a long time, Itachi Uchiha packed up his ninja equipment and glanced at the simple wooden house. It was a temporary, ordinary house, but it carried the brotherhood between Itachi and Sasuke that couldn't be separated. Itachi Uchiha doesn't know whether his choice is correct or not, but he has a mission that must be completed as a shinobu. As for revitalizing the Uchiha clan, as early as when Itachi Uchiha personally destroyed the clan, he was no longer qualified. Oh, brother Itachi has decided. Hiding under the quilt, Hinata was eating snacks while talking to Sasuke, patiently listening to Sasuke's complaints about Itachi Uchiha, and occasionally acting as a spiritual teacher to cleanse Sasuke's brain. Hinata felt that it was really hard. At the age of 15, he hasn't even graduated from high school, but he has to bear the burden that he shouldn't have. Don't be sad, Hinata said patiently. Cats. Brother Itachi has his own ideas, and didn't he already entrust you with the task of reviving the Uchiha clan? Sasuke, you can't let Itachi age down. Sitting in the cabin, Sasuke asked in his mind, what's next? Regarding Stu's he, S's he, and S on S he, S. He's who S and who, S's choice. Hinata pondered for a moment, and then said, you go to Orochimaru to fuse with Hashirama's cells, and open your Rinnegan, and then come to the Rain Country to meet me. Sasuke held the Kusanagi sword's hilt with his right hand, and said with a little excitement, is the plan about to start? Sasuke has been waiting for this day for too long. In addition to gaining power, he never forgot the culprit who destroyed the Uchiha clan. Uchiha bordered soil. Hinata nodded. Nagato's Rinnegan is Uchiha Madara's, and he can't perfectly control the power of the Rinnegan. If you awaken the Rinnegan, you can compete with him for control of the Geto Mazo, and use the power of the Rinnegan to extract the nine-tailed beast's chakra source. You just need to look at the right time and immediately retreat after getting the chakra. Sasuke frowned slightly. Hinata has been coveting the power of the nine-tailed beasts, which means that the power of the nine-tailed beasts can make Hinata stronger. Hinata, can I also absorb the nine-tailed beast chakra? Sasuke asked curiously. Sasuke is certainly duty-bound to help Hinata get the nine-tailed beast chakra, but if he can take the opportunity to strengthen himself, Sasuke will never miss it. Of course you can, Hinata said. If you can absorb the nine-tailed beast chakra, your strength will be further improved. Sasuke was slightly excited when he heard this. Rinnegan plus the nine-tailed beast chakra, as well as the Eurostyle chakra. In this way, the gap between him and Hinata will be reduced to the extreme. Maybe he can fight head-on. For a long time, Sasuke has also made speculations about the source of Hinata's power, and even discussed it with Uchiha's bordered soil. In addition to his own talent, Hinata's biggest reliance is the bloodline power inherited from the Hyuga clan's ancestor, Otsutsuki Himura. Hinata said it himself, and the Eurostyle chakra that he later absorbed. In contrast, Sasuke feels that he is not much worse than Hinata. Recalling the 6 years of school bullying during the ninja school, Sasuke secretly made up his mind that when his strength is greatly improved, he must hang Hinata and beat him. When he thought of Hinata crying in front of him and reflecting on the monstrous sins he had committed, Sasuke's mouth slightly raised. Obviously he was in a very good mood. After eating, beat Hinata for a while to help with digestion? This is a good idea. And Sasuke's heart became vigilant for a moment. Now that he is talking to Hinata remotely, he must not let Hinata know his true thoughts. Otherwise, Hinata may beat Sasuke a few times to vent his anger before he fully grows up. Suppressing the thoughts in his heart, Sasuke said in his mind, I know. Come on, Hinata encouraged. I am optimistic about you. Sasuke asked again. What about after that? According to the plan, if Uchiha Madara is resurrected, then Uchiha's bordered soil. When it comes to the words Uchiha's bordered soil, Sasuke's eyes became completely gloomy. If it weren't for the final plan, with Sasuke's character he would never tolerate Uchiha's bordered soil for such a long time. When our plan succeeds, bordered soil won't matter, Hinata said. Sasuke nodded. That's right. Sasuke suddenly said. Hinata, although I don't know to what extent the cooperation between you and Orochimaru is, but that guy is definitely not a good person. Maybe he is secretly plotting to seize Kagaya's power. Orochimaru, Hinata rubbed his face. In fact, Orochimaru is not so terrible. And I will be wary of him. For Orochimaru, Hinata certainly has some reservations. After all, the current Orochimaru is not the original Orochimaru after the end of the Fourth World War. If you say that Orochimaru doesn't have his own plan, Hinata will never believe it. However, Orochimaru is now wholeheartedly focused on cultivating a new body. Even if he has some ideas about chakra, he can't do anything. Urushi and Karen's bloodline? Urushi's power is just like that. It can't be compared with Kagaya's. Then I will see you in a few days. After thinking about it, Hinata added. Sasuke, you have Urushi's chakra in your body. After fusing with Hashirama's cells, it shouldn't be a problem to open Rinnegan. But you have to be careful of Hagoromo Sannin. That guy may take the opportunity to invade your spiritual world. Chapter 547. Six Paths Sannin. For this name, Sasuke is very familiar with it. After learning about the history of the ninja world thousands of years ago, Sasuke certainly knows what the Six Paths Sannin means. Sealing Otsutsuki Kagaya, becoming the first Jubi Jinchuriki, creating ninjutsu. The current situation of the ninja world can be said to be caused by the Six Paths Sannin. Well, Hinata explained. How should I say it? It's the strong desire for control. Six Paths Sannin created ninjutsu and saved the world. He wants to control the world. Even if today's ninja world is full of killing and hatred, for the Six Paths Sannin, he may want the world to be better, but it must be changed according to his ideas. As a good child who is about to become an adult, Hinata feels that it's too immature to judge a person's actions simply by good and evil. Take Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama for example. Hashirama stopped expanding after establishing Shinobu, while Uchiha Madara wanted to further unify the ninja world, which was the initial contradiction between the two. The establishment of the 5 great ninja villages indeed made the ninja world war further escalate. But if you think about it, if Shinobu really unified the ninja world, will there really be no more wars? Will Naruto's position change from the abdication system to the hereditary system? If Naruto's position is inherited by a clan, in order to eliminate the threat, will that clan attack other ninja clans? These are all unpredictable. As long as there is ambition, the infighting of human beings will never stop. It's undeniable that people understand each other is an ideal world of peace, but such a world may never be realized except in manga. In reality, the real peace should be Nagato's idea of using absolute force to level the world. Just like in Hinata's previous life, the major powers were worried about each other, and the battlefield shifted from the military to the economy. The contradictions still exist, and the battles never stop, but the real elimination of war. Humph. Desire for control? Sasuke snorted coldly. It seems that Naruto and I were already part of his plan. Hinata nodded and said in agreement, that's right. Rikudo-san Nin does want to use you and Naruto's power to reseal Otsutsuki Kagaya, and perhaps to deal with me. However, I still decided to revive Kagaya Otsutsuki first, and then let her give up on creating White Zetsu and take back chakra. If you can't convince her, you, me, and Naruto will work together to seal her. Sasuke smiled confidently. In comparison, Sasuke was more in favor of Hinata's plan. This was his confidence in his own strength. After activating the Eternal Eye, Sasuke was now very arrogant. Pain has already shown the power of Rinnegan. Even Nagato is estimated to be on par with Hinata. Although the tailed beast's chakra is huge, it can be suppressed with the power of Sharingan. Perhaps the gathering of the 9-tailed beast's chakra will produce a qualitative change and become the so-called God Tree chakra. But Sasuke has already absorbed Urashi's chakra, and he is no stranger to the God Tree chakra. Even if Kagaya's power is stronger than Urashi, Sasuke already has a rough prediction in his heart. When Rinnegan opens and absorbs the 9-tailed beast chakra, Sasuke is confident that he can fight Otsutsuki Kagaya. This is not just Sasuke's own guess. From Hinata's plan and the information revealed, in Hinata's mind, such Sasuke is obviously qualified to fight Otsutsuki Kagaya. Otherwise, Hinata wouldn't say you, me, and Naruto, the 3 of us will work together to seal her. I, Uchiha Sasuke, I will not be weaker than anyone in my life. Well, you know what you're doing, I'll see you in a few days. Hanging up the call with Sasuke, Hinata's mood was obviously very good. Now that the overall situation is settled, when Uchiha Madara is resurrected, no one can stop Hinata. Even if Otsutsuki Kagaya is stubborn, as long as Otsutsuki Kagaya is resealed, Hinata can still take the Hyuga clan to silently develop in Shinobu. With strength, Shinobu can't do anything to Hinata. But Itachi Uchiha? Forget it. Although Itachi Uchiha's IQ is high, he has now lost his Sharingan and rejected Shirsue's eyes. Even if his IQ is high, he can't make waves without strength. And Itachi Uchiha can't have too many secrets. After all, Nagato doesn't know much. Outside the ninja world. Is it here? Pale skin, long blue-white hair, no eyebrows, 2 round points on the forehead, and 2 horns on the head. Standing in the void, a pair of white pupils looked at the ninja world from a distance. Otsutsuki Poo style. Looking back at the moon, Pusher said with a playful tone. It seems that the traitor is still alive. Ha! What's that? There's also this chakra. It was a wooden puppet ball with 2 wing-like objects and a pair of binoculars sticking out of the ball. Forget it. Not understanding what the puppet does, Pusher retracted his gaze and didn't want to alert the enemy for the time being. Although it's important to take back the chakra fruit, now it seems that there may be something more important. Pusher said to himself. What is it? The Otsutsuki clan has long wanted to take back Otsutsuki Kagaya's sacred tree. Pusher was sent to the ninja world by the clan with the purpose of investigating the whereabouts of the chakra fruit. When the clan sends someone again, they will officially take the chakra fruit. However, as soon as he came to this world, Pusher noticed a power of the same origin as his own. The scenery below became clearer and clearer. After entering the ninja world, Pusher immediately felt the difference between this world and other worlds. There's a lot of chakra. His body slightly paused, and Pusher's face showed a look of astonishment. This world is different. Before coming to this world, Pusher didn't put Kagaya in his eyes. After all, before the fusion of the sacred tree, the Otsutsuki clan's strength was not strong. Even if Kagaya ate the chakra fruit, it is reasonable to say that it is impossible for him to be stronger than Pusher. However, the ninja world's natural energy is extremely rich, and the sacred tree that grows in this world is definitely not comparable to the sacred tree of other worlds. This means that Kagaya may be stronger than him. Although Pusher has sensed that Kagaya has been sealed, the power that can seal Kagaya can naturally seal Pusher. It seems to be very dangerous. Pusher scratched his head and felt that this plan may not be as smooth as he imagined. A world rich in natural energy, a creature with chakra, a sealed Kagaya, and a power of the same origin as Pusher. This world seems to be very complicated. Chapter 548. My name is Otsutsuki Urishiki. Our Otsutsuki clan is born extraordinary, and we have great power since birth. In order to obtain eternal life and greater power, our clan will send people to different planets to plant the chakra tree. While guarding the tree, we also have to constantly offer chakra to the Otsutsuki clan. When the chakra fruit ripens, we have to return to the ancestral star and hand over the chakra fruit to the Otsutsuki clan. However, 1,000 years ago, there was a traitor in our clan. Her name was Otsutsuki Kagaya. Not only did she stop the chakra that should have been handed over to the clan, but she also secretly ate the chakra fruit. Because the chakra fruit only bears fruit once every 1,000 years, the Otsutsuki clan did not notice Kagaya's betrayal at the beginning. It was only after 1,000 years that Kagaya still did not return to hand over the chakra fruit that the clan noticed the abnormality. Because of this, Otsutsuki Urishiki, was sent to this planet by the Otsutsuki clan to find the whereabouts of Kagaya and retrieve the chakra fruit. However, after entering the atmosphere of this planet, Otsutsuki Urishiki was keenly aware of the extraordinariness of this planet. Because the time of revolution of different planets is different, different planets have different ways of calculating time. Coupled with the abundant natural energy on this planet, Urishiki was keenly aware that the chakra fruit here may have ripened a long time ago. Moreover, before entering the atmosphere, Urishiki had already sensed that the traitor Otsutsuki Kagaya had been sealed by the indigenous people of this planet, which proved that Urishiki's judgment at this moment was correct. In addition, Urishiki also sensed several forces of the same origin as himself, which made Urishiki feel even more puzzled. In short, I must be careful next. Urishiki warned himself in his heart. Green mountains, green water, overlapping mountain ranges. It has to be said that the scenery of a planet with abundant natural energy is not bad. Floating in the air, Urishiki familiarized himself with the terrain of this planet while inquiring about the indigenous people of this planet. Whoosh! Whoosh! Ha! Someone's coming? Pusher quickly concealed himself. In the forest below, for silhouettes were moving quickly. Under Pusher's Byakugan vision, the four people's chakra could be clearly seen. So weak. Pusher pursed his lips. Wasn't he being too cautious? After all, he was just an ordinary mortal. Even if he practiced chakra, it was absolutely impossible for him to be the opponent of the Otsutsuki clan. But what is the power that sealed Huey? Pusher thought to himself. If this is the extent of the power of this planet's natives, then maybe I can still get Bright Knight's fruit. However, we must be careful to seal Huey's power. I still need to continue gathering information. After determining the target, Pusher continued to wander in the ninja world, carefully observing the strength of each ninja. A few days later, Pusher finally confirmed the information. Most of the aborigines on this planet were ordinary people. Only a small number of people practiced chakra. And these people who practiced chakra were called ninjas by the aborigines. As for the fighting power of a ninja, well, only 5 points. Was I being too cautious? Pusher's heart instantly relaxed. If the Aborigines only had this little bit of power, then his next actions could be unscrupulous. Next, I need to find the power of the divine tree's fruit, and chakra of the same origin as me. After confirming the next plan, Pusher was ready to go to a bigger city to gather information. That guy. In the forest, a black-haired man in strange clothes was jumping on the trees. A part of the divine tree's power, and chakra of the same origin as me. I didn't expect to find it so quickly. Through the Byakugan, Pusher instantly determined the strength of this black-haired man. The black-haired man's chakra was very large, but compared to Pusher, there was still a big gap. But the difference was that this black-haired man's chakra was unusually cold and evil, especially his eyes. Well, after opening the eternal Mangekyo, Sasuke left the land of water, landed from the land of hot water, and prepared to cross the land of field, land of iron, and meet with Orochimaru in the land of waterfall to merge with Hashirama's cells to open the power of Rinnegan. It's just interesting. As soon as he entered the land of fields, Sasuke felt that he was being watched. For his current strength, Sasuke was not only confident, but also arrogant. No matter which country the ninja is from, since he came, then don't think about leaving. Duh. With a soft sound, Sasuke's figure stopped on a tree trunk. The breeze blew Sasuke's clothes and black hair, adding a sense of killing intent. Come out! The eternal Mangekyo opened instantly. Sasuke's right hand pressed on the hilt of the Kusanagi sword, and his scarlet eyes stared at the position where he just perceived chakra. In the air? Without waiting for Sasuke to wonder, Urashi's figure slowly appeared, looking down at Sasuke with a hint of playfulness in her eyes. Byakugan? Is it the Hyuga clan? No. It's not the Hyuga. Could it be? Sasuke instantly made a judgment in his heart. With the Byakugan, but not the Hyuga clan, then it must be the Otsutsuki clan. According to Hinata, Kagaya was a traitor of the Otsutsuki clan. The reason why she made the mistake of creating the White Zetsu army with human beings was to resist the Otsutsuki clan's pursuit. According to the time, the Otsutsuki clan's pursuit will arrive in the ninja world in the next few decades. Otsutsuki? Sasuke's mouth showed a hint of ridicule, and his eyes flashed with fighting spirit. 2 years ago, Hinata and the future Sasuke once joined forces to kill an Otsutsuki clan member, and extracted his power. Now this power is hidden in Sasuke's body. Today, Sasuke is no longer the same as before. Even if he doesn't have the Rinnegan, Sasuke believes that his strength is definitely not much worse than his future self. If he can kill this person. Yo, I didn't expect you to know me. Urashi looked at Sasuke and said casually, I can see that you are different from those aboriginals. Can you tell me how you know about me? Clang. Sasuke pulled out his Kusanagi sword and said coldly, What do you want to do in this world? Seeing through Sasuke's strength, Urashi was very confident that Sasuke could never escape from her hands. Hearing this, she said bluntly, Of course, it's to investigate the traitor of our Otsutsuki clan, and take back the chakra fruit by the way. But I'm very interested in you. Where did you steal my power? Your power? Sasuke's eyes moved slightly and asked tentatively, Urashi? Chapter 549. Aiya. You seem to know something incredible. Pusher's tone was still playful, but the way he looked at Sasuke was getting more and more serious. How did this native know his name? Pusher was sure that this was the first time he had come to this planet. However, not only did this native know the Otsutsuki clan, but he also knew his name. Knowing the name, Otsutsuki is nothing. After all, Kagaya has already come to this planet, and was sealed by the indigenous people of this planet. However, this native actually knew his name, Pusher. There was only one explanation for this situation. Pusher from a certain time and space had come to this time and space through the use of the katana relic. However, he was defeated by the native of this time and space, and the native even took the power of the Pusher from another time and space. This also explained why this black-haired native possessed the power of the same origin as the Hapu style. Pusher became vigilant as he thought of this, and he became as cautious as he was when he first arrived on this planet. Why did I come here from another time and space? Did the plan fail? Or was I chased by the natives, and had to escape from that time and space. However, no matter what the reason was, it proved that he, the Otsutsuki Pushur, could not do anything on this planet. Pushur secretly analyzed in his heart, since I came here from a certain space-time, it proves that the plan to seize the chakra fruit has failed. There must be a strong person on this planet who can defeat me, but this person is not Kagaya. After thinking about this, Pushur's eyes became serious. Pushur was ready to develop on this planet. He would first investigate the natives and collect some chakra to increase his strength. However, the prerequisite for all of this was to kill the native in front of him. He had to end this quickly. Pushur clenched his right hand, and the red light fishing rod appeared in his hand. The red light fishing basket also appeared behind his waist. He waved the fishing rod, and countless red light fishing hooks instantly condensed and attacked Sasuke in an overwhelming manner. Amaterasu Meteor Strike. The battle between the shame of the Otsutsuki clan and Uchiha clan had officially begun. What a fast speed! Clang! The crisp sound of metal colliding with stone came from where the Kusanagi sword and the red light fishing hooks collided. Bzzz. A few flashes of lightning appeared on Sasuke's right arm. Sasuke had activated the thunder element chakra cells to the extreme, and at the last moment when the red fishing hooks attacked, he blocked Pushur's attack. Bam! With a muffled sound, Sasuke's body seemed to burst like a spring. The whole person soared into the sky and instantly approached Urashi. In the scarlet eternal eyes, Urashi's reflection could be clearly seen. The blade flashed. Clang! Red light fishing rod collided with Kusanagi sword, and the huge force instantly pressed Sasuke back to the ground. As he fell, Sasuke's mouth curled up slightly. A black flame silently ignited on Pushur's arm. Amaterasu. HHHHH. The red light fish basket floated behind Pushur and absorbed the black flames of Amaterasu. However, even though it only burned for a moment, the black flame still left a burn mark on Pushur's arm. Otsutsuki clan is nothing more than this. Sasuke stood on the ground. Although he looked up at Pushur who was floating in the air, his hexagonal eyes flashed with a look of contempt. This was the exclusive look of the Uchiha clan. As for Pushur's strength, as an Otsutsuki clan member, Pushur's strength was undoubtedly powerful. Looking at Pushur's record, except for the time when he faced the genin, most of the battles ended with Pushur's victory. Even if there was an occasional tie, it was because Pushur didn't want to fight. However, when Pushur faced the genin, that was truly too horrible to look at. In the battle between Pushur and Shinki plus Uzumaki, Pushur was not only sent flying by Shinki's punch, but also had his horn broken by Uzumaki's Rasengan. Facing the combination of Uzumaki plus young Naruto, Pushur was directly sent flying by the combination of the two and fainted on the spot. Although in the Legend of Bo, Pushur suppressed Sasuke several times and also fished away Sasuke's chakra. But don't forget, now is the time of Gale. It is the time when Sasuke's strength is at its peak. Of course, Pushur's strength is sometimes high and sometimes low. There is also his own reason. Although Pushur's strength is strong, he has no combat experience. In Pushur's past battles, almost all of his opponents were defeated in a crushing manner, and there was no chance to practice combat experience at all. Coupled with Pushur's own personality problem. Although Pushur is unscrupulous in order to achieve his goal, his personality is not bloodthirsty. In the Legend of Bo, although there are many people who were knocked down by Pushur, no one was killed by him. Unless Pushur is completely angered, Pushur will not easily kill, but directly leave after fishing away chakra. Moreover, Pushur likes to taunt and tease the enemy in battle. And even when he has the advantage, he often underestimates the enemy and is careless. But at this time, Sasuke has obviously completely angered Pushur. As a person who must be killed, this native dared to hurt him, and also ridiculed him and slandered the name of Otsutsuki. You have angered me, Pushur said coldly. His left hand stretched out, and a small black ball appeared in Pushur's palm. It was the dan formed by Amaterasu's chakra that was absorbed by the red light fish basket. After swallowing the dan, Pushur's burned arm instantly recovered to its original state. Oh! Sasuke looked slightly stunned, and his eyes flashed with curiosity. Sasuke asked, Is this the ability of your Otsutsuki clan? Through the fight just now, Sasuke has a general judgment of Pusher's strength. The other party is stronger than him, but he lacks combat experience. As long as he baits the enemy a little, plus surprise, it is easy to hit the opponent. But the other party is very strong, and can recover injuries by absorbing chakra. In addition, the other party must have a strong ability as a member of the Otsutsuki clan. This is not an easy opponent to deal with. The dead don't need to know so much. Pusher's voice was cold. If it was normal times, Pusher will patiently show off his extraordinary ability to Sasuke, but the current situation does not allow Pusher to be capricious. Since this planet has the power to kill him in another time and space and seal Kagaya, then the next action must be careful. And the native in front of him has the power of another time and space. In other words, the black-haired native in front of him may be related to the native who killed him. Thinking of this, Pusher no longer held back. Rinnegan instantly opened, waving the red light fishing rod to attack Sasuke. Chapter 550. Ding ding ding. The sound of weapons clashing continued. Pusher's strength was undoubtedly very strong, at least in the current ninja world. Even Nagata was far from being his opponent. But Sasuke has now opened the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. Even if his eyes were weaker than Pusher's, but after absorbing Pusher's chakra, Sasuke's taijutsu wasn't inferior to Pusher's. Lightning flashed, and Sasuke fully activated his lightning chakra, activating his body to the extreme, and his speed and strength suddenly skyrocketed. Sasuke's body suddenly burst and the ground cracked, and he jumped up, dodging the attack of the red light fishing rod by a hair's breadth, and Kusanagi went straight for Pusher's throat. Pusher leaned back, avoiding the fatal blow of Kusanagi. Humph! Sasuke's mouth slightly raised, and Susanu's purple skeleton instantly covered his body, and the skeleton's left arm clenched into a fist, and smashed towards Pusher. Boom! Shinra Tensei was suddenly launched, and the repulsion force collided with Susanu's fist. Pusher retreated 20 meters with the help of the rebounding force. The purple skeleton transformed again, and almost in the blink of an eye, it condensed into a skeleton form with muscles, skin and armor, and arrows instantly formed. Whoosh! As soon as Pusher landed, the purple arrow pierced towards his head. What? Pusher's face changed, and then a trace of ridicule appeared on his face, and almost without any resistance, his head was pierced by the purple arrow, and his whole body turned into a red light, and then disappeared. Sasuke used Susanu's chakra to protect himself, and calmly observed the surroundings with his hexagram Sharingan, guarding against Pusher who could attack at any time. Without any warning, the red light hook broke through Sasuke's defense from behind, and drilled into Sasuke's body from the back. Sasuke's entire body shook. Even Susanu's energy was almost unable to maintain it. Pusher silently appeared in the air behind Sasuke. He pulled the red light fishing rod with his right hand, and the hook flew out of Sasuke's body with Sasuke's chakra, and fell on Pusher's hand. Damn it! Sasuke lost all his strength in an instant, and barely managed to support himself with his Kusanagi sword to prevent himself from falling to the ground. Chakra is the product of the combination of physical energy and spiritual energy. When a ninja is fighting, as long as they have physical energy and spiritual energy, they can refine chakra at any time. However, the chakra that was fished away by the red light fishing rod wasn't just the refined chakra. Even the spiritual energy and physical energy would be fished away in the form of chakra. At this moment, Sasuke was completely defenseless. In particular, Sasuke also absorbed Pusher's chakra. As a power of the same origin, it was easier for Pusher to fish it away. Is this the power of the Otsutsuki clan? Sasuke was unwilling. If he wasn't too careless and didn't understand Pusher's ability, how could he be defeated by Pusher in one blow? However, apart from the factor of carelessness, Sasuke had to admit that Pusher's power was indeed strong. What's more, what Pusher showed was probably not all of his strength. After defeating a strong enemy, Pusher returned to his original casual attitude. Floating in front of Sasuke, Pusher looked at Sasuke condescendingly, tilted his head and said in a playful tone, "You have stolen the power of the Otsutsuki clan. How can you understand the meaning of the name of the Otsutsuki clan? Hey! Sasuke snorted. This was originally what he used to despise Orochimaru and Kakashi. Now that it was said by Pushur, it gave him a strange feeling. Well, Pushur stared at Sasuke curiously and pondered for a moment. Very strange dojutsu. In the history of the Otsutsuki clan, there has never been a Tensigen, and of course, there has never been a Sharingan. Although Rinnegan is the ultimate dojutsu born from the fusion of eternal Mangekyo and Hashirama's cells, from the perspective of power alone, the difference between Mangekyo and Rinnegan is not much. Mangekyo's dojutsu also has its own uniqueness. After taking back the power that belongs to me, I can study it carefully. Thinking of this, Pushur flew in front of Sasuke, ready to take back the power of Pushur from another time and space. Sasuke's face was stiff and he didn't say a word. At the moment when Pushur approached, he waved Kusanagi with the last of his strength and stabbed toward Pushur's heart. Clang! The sound of gold and iron rang. Pushur waved the red light fishing rod and knocked the Kusanagi away, and then kicked Sasuke away. Is this the last resistance of an ant? Pushur's eyes were playful, and the corner of his mouth was slightly raised disdainfully. On this planet, there are not many people who can tie with me. Damn it! Lying on the ground, Sasuke clenched his fists, and his eyes flashed a trace of unwillingness and dignity. If only he could be a little faster. If he could adapt to Mangekyo faster, he could transplant Itachi's eyes faster and open Eternal Eye faster. As long as he opened Eternal Eye a few days in advance, he could integrate Hashirama's cells a few days in advance and open Rinnegan. With the same dojutsu, Sasuke doesn't think that he can't beat Pushur. But, suddenly looking up at Pushur, Sasuke sneered and said lightly, "Do you think you've won?" Oh. Pushur was surprised when he heard this, and he stopped walking toward Sasuke and looked at Sasuke curiously. Now that things have come to this, what can you do? Pushur tilted his head and looked at Sasuke. But I also want to see how you can struggle at this moment. Sasuke's eyes were cold, and Pushur's attitude was undoubtedly a great humiliation for Sasuke. Sasuke said coldly, "Look carefully." And Pushur was stunned when he heard this, and then he felt a huge crisis, and the hair on his back instantly stood up. Puff puff puff. 4 truth-seeking balls turned into black rods and penetrated Pushur's limbs in an instant, firmly fixing Pushur on the ground and blocking all of Pushur's movements. Hehe Sasuke-kun, I saw your embarrassed side again. Hinata appeared with a smile and landed lightly in front of Sasuke. Her small green hand touched Sasuke's head, helping Sasuke recover a little strength so that he could move. Humph! Sasuke snorted and turned his face away awkwardly. Hinata didn't care and turned to look at Pushur and almost drooled. Slurp. The legendary Otsutsuki feast had finally appeared. Although absorbing Pushur's chakra again didn't have much meaning for Hinata, it was good to be able to replenish a little vitality. The reason why the Otsutsuki clan could achieve eternal life was because they had been absorbing the chakra fruit. The chakra fruit was actually a form of vitality. Pushur. Sasuke, when did this guy come? Hinata asked. The reason why Hinata could come in time was not because he noticed Pushur, but because according to the time, Sasuke was about to arrive at the Orochimaru base. After all, it was the fusion of Hashirama's cells. Hinata had to take a look. Chapter 551. Hinata, be careful. Sasuke, who had recovered a little of his strength, grabbed Hinata's arm and took Hinata to retreat. The crisis was approaching. Hinata had already sensed it. Even Sasuke's movements could not escape Hinata's perception ability. While quickly retreating with Sasuke, Hinata used his other hand to hit Pushur, who had escaped from the trap. How is this possible? Hinata frowned slightly. How could Pushur escape the blockade of the truth-seeking ball? If Pushur had this ability, how could Pushur, who came from another time and space, be defeated by Hinata? Boom! With a muffled sound, Pushur's whole body flew out upside down. The black space door opened, and Pushur disappeared after entering the space door. What the hell is going on? Hinata's heart was full of doubts. What went wrong? That's right. Hinata's right hand clenched into a fist and slammed into the palm of his left hand. It turns out that I forgot to use the yin-yang seal. Sasuke glanced at Hinata with great concern, especially Hinata's Tensigen. The move that Hinata used to kill Pushur. Even the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan couldn't see through it. Tensigen's dojutsu? Hey, what are you looking at? Hinata glanced at Sasuke with cold eyes and threatened fiercely. I'm warning you, it's best not to think about it. Sasuke. The Otsutsuki clan. Sasuke retracted his gaze and asked with some doubts. Why would they appear at this time? Sasuke has seen his future self. That Sasuke is at least 30 years old. The reason why the future Sasuke will travel to this time and space is to chase after Pushur. This means that under normal circumstances, they will encounter Pushur at least 15 years later. Our future is no longer the same. Hinata explained. When you see your future self, everything has changed. Thinking of what the future Sasuke said to himself, Sasuke seemed to understand and nodded. In this time and space, Itachi Uchiha's fate has changed. According to the future Sasuke, the thing he regrets most is watching Itachi Uchiha die. Don't worry about that. Hinata hurriedly said. Sasuke, you go to Orochimaru first, I will chase after Pushur. If this guy mess around, it will ruin our plan. Sasuke raised his eyebrows slightly raised his eyebrows and asked, Mess? Hinata explained. Pushur has seen my power and my dojutsu before, but he's not afraid of me. In order to deal with me he essay-tailed. I got it. Sasuke heard this and said seriously, when I open my Rinnegan, I will help you. Okay. Hinata nodded and didn't refuse. After Sasuke left, Hinata quickly connected to the vision sharing of the artificial satellite, and searched for Pushur's whereabouts within the scope of the ninja world. It's not here. Impossible. Although Hinata's satellite doesn't cover the whole world, as long as there is a ninja, almost all the places are under the surveillance of Hinata. Although Pushur escaped with Yomi no Murasaka, it shouldn't be so coincidental to avoid the surveillance of the satellite. That guy shouldn't have entered outer space, right? Thinking of this, Hinata quickly entered the Tensigen chakra mode and flew towards outer space. Mount Mayaboku. On the top of a stone peak, Naruto sat cross-legged on a wooden board, carefully controlling the balance of his body, trying to enter the meditation state of sage mode. Jiraiya, Fukasaku, and Shima stood under the stone peak, looking up at Naruto's cultivation. Jiraiya, Naruto's aptitude is much better than yours. Fukasaku Sennin said with emotion. It seems that in a few days, Naruto will be able to complete the cultivation of sage mode. Jiraiya was also very happy. Nothing can make Jiraiya feel more gratified than watching his disciple progress little by little. However, hearing Fukasaku Sennin's words, Jiraiya snorted with a face full of dissatisfaction. How can Naruto, this stinky brat, compare with this sage? After a pause, Jiraiya put on a serious face and said in a dignified tone. To Sennin, Great Toad Sage still can't see the future? Sigh. Shima Sennin sighed and shook her head. The ninja world is now in an era of trouble, even the child of prophecy. Well, cough. Before Shima Sennin could finish her words, Fukasaku Sennin coughed lightly and interrupted. The future is created by us. Little Jiraiya, as long as you firmly believe in the future, there is no difficulty that you can't overcome. Don't be too attached to prophecies. Although prophecies can see the future, when you play with the future will also play with you. Hearing this, Jiraiya nodded solemnly and said, I understand. But, as if thinking of something, Jiraiya said with a dignified expression. According to Sennin, the original future has been changed by someone. And this means that something worse is likely to happen next? Fukasaku Sennin also nodded with a dignified expression. The Great Toad Sage can no longer see the future, and the three holy lands that have always been aloof are facing a life and death crisis. But where did this crisis come from? The person who can interfere with the Great Toad Sage. This person's strength must be above the Great Toad Sage. This chakra. While pondering, Fukasaku and Shima looked up at the same time. In the sky above the stone peak, a black space crack slowly expanded, and in the blink of an eye, it formed a black space door, and a figure in white clothes and gray pants slowly floated out of the space door, looking curiously at Naruto who was practicing. Fukasaku and Shima were sweating profusely, in their natural perception. The chakra of the person who suddenly appeared was more terrifying than the 9 tails. Who is it? Jiraiya's face was dignified, and after several consecutive teleports, he appeared on the top of another stone peak, looking at the sudden appearance of the great toad sage with vigilance. Byakugan? Hyuga clan? Several questions flashed through Jiraiya's mind in succession. When did such a strong person appear in the Hyuga clan? Could it be that the changes in the Hyuga clan in recent years are all because of this person? Thinking of this, Jiraiya asked in a deep voice, "Who are you? What do you want to do in Mount Mayaboku?" Pusher glanced at Jiraiya, then looked at the 2 toads on the ground, and his eyes flashed with understanding. No wonder this planet is so special. It turns out that there is such a place. Is the power of the chakra fruit in the body of that kid? Pusher looked at Naruto, and the corners of his mouth raised slightly. Before dealing with that woman, I will take back some of the chakra. And these indigenous people will think of the Hyuga clan when they see the Byakugan. The Hyuga clan are the descendants of the traitor Kagaya. Chapter 552. Perverted Immortal. Who is this guy? Naruto opened his eyes and looked curiously at Pusher, who was floating in the air. Ugh. Wah! Naruto's body tilted and screamed loudly. He fell from the stone peak and hit the ground with a bang. His face hit the ground, and his whole body was sprawled on the ground with his arms and legs spread out. Everyone. Little Naruto, are you okay? Fukasaku and Shima jumped to Naruto's side and helped Naruto up. I'm fine. Naruto shook his head and looked up at Urashi in the air. His eyes narrowed slightly. Byakugan? Swoosh. Jiraiya appeared in front of Naruto and stood between Naruto and Pusher. Naruto, be careful. This guy is coming for you, he said seriously. Jiraiya looked up at Pusher and asked, Who are you? Me. Pusher didn't even finish his words when he waved the red light fishing rod with his right hand, and the hook and the fishing line quickly attacked Jiraiya. Watch out! Jiraiya shouted and used body flicker technique to dodge the attack, and his hands quickly formed hand seals. Fire release, flame bullet. The temperature of the flame rose sharply with the help of the oil, and rushed towards Pusher. Wherever the flames passed, the intense heat caused the air to undergo wave-like changes. Bang! Shinra Tensei's repulsive force was activated. Before the flame could reach Pusher, it was bounced away by Pusher's repulsive force and dissipated into a few flames. This move is. Jiraiya was not in a hurry to attack. The previous move had made Jiraiya understand that ordinary ninjutsu would not be effective against Pusher. Especially the way Urashi bounced off the flame bomb. It was very familiar to Jiraiya. Fukasaku said seriously, Jiraiya, look at his eyes. Hearing this, Jiraiya quickly looked at Pusher's eyes. This is Rinnegan. Who are you? Shima hurriedly said, Jiraiya, is this guy the leader of the organizations? I heard that the leader of the Akatsuki has Rinnegan. Jiraiya shook his head slightly. He had seen Yahiko's incarnation of pain. He also learned from Mei that the Akatsuki member who attacked them was most likely Konan. The leader of the organizations should be no doubt Nagato. And this person. Damn it. Even if he was slow, at this time he knew that the person in front of him was an enemy. Naruto roared, and was about to rush up and teach Urashi a lesson. Jiraiya quickly reached out to stop Naruto and scolded. Naruto, have you forgotten the ability of Rinnegan? The expression on Naruto's face was very serious, and his eyes were staring at Pusher closely. When he was captured by pain, Naruto was very afraid of the ability of Rinnegan. Pusher looked at the 2 people and the 2 toads with a playful expression. With the Byakugan and Rinnegan, Pusher could clearly see the Kyuubi in Naruto's body. That's the chakra of 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 the chakra. Damn it! Pusher cursed in his heart. What is the dojutsu of the 2 people before? The ability of that woman to attack me should be the truth-seeking ball. Damn it! She actually made me suffer such a heavy injury. And that woman also has my chakra in her body. Eternal Mangekyo and Tenseigan are dojutsu that have never appeared in the history of the Otsutsuki clan. Especially Hinata's omniscience. Even the time backtrack is useless. Thinking of this, Pusher's heart flashed a trace of fear. Pusher's Rinnegan has the ability of time backtrack, which allows him to return from the current point of time to the point of time a few seconds ago and experience dozens of enemy moves, so that he can see the opponent's moves clearly and choose the safest way to deal with it. However, the time backtrack can't see through Hinata's moves. If I want to take back my chakra, I must first absorb Kagaya's power. For Pusher, the power of Hinata and Sasuke, which is of the same origin as him, is far more tempting than Kagaya's power. If I can merge the two forces into one. Thinking of this, Pusher's eyes moved slightly, and a trace of greed flashed in his eyes as he looked at Naruto. His eyes changed again, and the azure blue Rinnegan instantly turned into the red 6-tomo Rinnegan. Hoo-hoo-hoo! The whistling wind pressed down from above, and Gamabunta fell from the sky with a tachi in his hand. His huge body almost blocked the sun, and the tachi flashed with cold light towards Pusher's head. Seeing this, Jiraiya hurriedly shouted, "Gamabunta, be careful." At the same time, Jiraiya formed a seal with his hands, and the white hair floating behind him instantly grew long and swept towards Pusher. Humph! Pusher snorted twice, and the black space door opened, and Pusher's figure disappeared instantly. Gamabunta, who fell from the sky, lost his target, and his eyes widened. If Gamabunta fell like this, Jiraiya and the others will inevitably be affected. There was no way. Gamabunta could only step on a stone peak and jump away. Behind Naruto, the black space door opened silently, and Pusher's figure flashed out of the space door and grabbed Naruto's collar, wanting to pull Naruto into the space door and retreat. Rasengan. Jiraiya's right hand dragged the Rasengan, and the moment Pusher appeared, he pressed the Rasengan on Pusher's stomach. The Rasengan instantly expanded, and the raging storm ruthlessly sent Pusher flying, and the rotating airflow dragged a long trace on the ground. Since he had already guessed that Pusher's target was Naruto, Jiraiya had already focused his attention on Naruto the moment Pusher disappeared through the space door. Sure enough, Pusher appeared behind Naruto. "Naruto, be careful," Jiraiya reminded. Naruto nodded solemnly, and, looking at Pusher who was sent flying, Jiraiya's mind flashed with a trace of doubt. Without a doubt, the person in front of him was very strong, and his physical fitness was definitely not that of an ordinary human. The Rasengan just now could not cause too much damage to him. However, such a strong physical fitness was actually unable to dodge his Rasengan. This was too abnormal. Even Hinata, who lacked combat experience, would not be hit so easily. This was no longer a problem of lacking combat experience. The person in front of him could definitely see through Jiraiya's attack, and his body could also keep up with Jiraiya's speed. However, under Jiraiya's sudden attack, he could not make the decision to counterattack in an instant. To put it simply, he was just an ordinary person with extraordinary powers who had not even experienced many battles. Cough cough. Pusher looked at Jiraiya with a gloomy expression, and said in a ferocious tone, "You have thoroughly angered me." After being beaten up twice in a day, even a person with a good temper would be angry. Not to mention that the person who beat him up was a native he looked down on the most. The red light fishing rod waved again. Amaterasu meteor strike. Countless red light fishing hooks flew towards Jiraiya and Naruto like shurikens. The fishing line was hidden in the dense mass of fishing hooks, and it was like a poisonous snake staring at Jiraiya. Chapter 553. Whoosh! Jiraiya, Naruto, Fukasaku, and Shima dodged the attack of the red hook at the same time. The moment they landed on the ground, Jiraiya quickly made hand seals. Earth release, yellow spring swamp. The ground under Pusher's feet instantly turned into a swamp. Pusher was caught off guard and his lower body was completely immersed in the swamp. The hook that was controlled by Pusher also lost its balance because of Pusher's body and brushed past Jiraiya. Bang! 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 In the continuous smoke, Naruto made hand seals and shouted, "Multiple shadow clone jutsu! Go!" Naruto shouted, and the two shadow clone jutsu formed a group. After condensing the Rasengan, The auxiliary shadow clone pulled the Rasengan shadow clone's hand and threw it into the sky. The dense and overwhelming Rasengan shadow clone attacked Urushi, who was trapped in the algae swamp. Whoosh! The repulsive force was activated and Pushur's whole body instantly bounced into the air and collided with hundreds of Naruto's shadow clones. Shinra Tensei. The repulsive force was activated again. With Pushur as the center, all the objects and ninjutsu around him were instantly bounced away. The rushing Naruto didn't even touch the corner of Urashi's clothes before he turned into smoke and disappeared in a continuous bang sound. The black space door opened, and the moment Urashi's figure disappeared, a red light flashed behind Jiraiya, and the red light hook instantly pierced Jiraiya's right shoulder. Lascivious sage! Naruto exclaimed and rushed towards Jiraiya with all his strength. Puff! Pushur stepped on Jiraiya's back, and was about to pull out the red hook and retreat at the same time. Jiraiya's body turned into flowing mud and bound the red hook and Pushur's right foot at the same time. Another Jiraiya fell from the sky, white hair wrapped around Pushur's body, and the Rasengan in his hand was aimed at the back of Pushur's head. Bang! The repulsive force was activated again. Although it was not as turbulent as Shinra Tensei, the surging repulsive force still bounced everything around Pushur. Urashi also got out and floated to a higher place, looking down at Jiraiya and others condescendingly. Scratching his head, Pushur was a little distressed. It's really troublesome. Although Pushur's power was strong, there was no concept of jutsu in the Otsutsuki clan. All Pushur's abilities were given to him by the tree, and the moves he used were all dojutsu, not through cultivation. Although Jiraiya some small moves, they were very useful in battle. They can often play unexpected effects. Moreover, although Pushur's 6-Tomo Rinnegan was superior to the ordinary Rinnegan in terms of eye power, it didn't give Pushur any new dojutsu, compared to ordinary I's speed. S speed's jutsu. S. Pu's I's speed. Lascivious Sun Nin. Naruto ran to Jiraiya and saw that Jiraiya was not injured. He was relieved. It seems that this guy is not that great. Jiraiya shouted. Don't be careless, Naruto. Compared to Naruto, who had little experience, Jiraiya could see the horror of Pushur more clearly. Jiraiya spent 3 years to lay a solid foundation for Naruto, so that Naruto could learn Rasen Shuriken and Sage Mode in a short time. Although Pushur has no combat experience at the moment, and only a few dojutsu moves can be used, Pushur's foundation is undoubtedly the best in the ninja world. As long as Pushur is given some time, and a few more ninjutsu moves, Pushur can learn stronger ninjutsu in a short time. Even if ninjas have to pay a certain price to use forbidden ninjutsu, it's just a piece of cake for Pushur. He has great power, but he can't use ninjutsu. This guy may not be from the ninja world. After reading the information left by Indra's genjutsu, Jiraiya also has some understanding of the history of the ninja world thousands of years ago, and he has also secretly investigated a lot of information over the years. The enemy that Indra mentioned that came from outside the world might not be a bluff after all, especially the appearance of Pushur. As long as the information of Pushur is confirmed, many things are clear. However, the only thing that puzzles Jiraiya is that although Pushur has Rinnegan, Pushur's normal state is the Byakugan. It seems that the Hyuga clan is also related to the Six Paths Sun Nin. Jiraiya secretly thought. Fukasaku Shima, to Sun Nin. Jiraiya took a deep breath. Please. Fukasaku and Shima looked at each other, then jumped to Jiraiya's shoulder. Fukasaku looked at Pushur with dignified eyes. Do you want to use that move? Jiraiya nodded. Ordinary ninjutsu can't hurt this guy. Although Pushur can't be completely immune to ordinary ninjutsu like the Jubi's Jinchuriki, ordinary ninjutsu can't hurt Pushur too much. Pushur was hit by Jiraiya's Rasengan before. Although he seemed to be uninjured, in fact Pushur only recovered from the injury in a short time, not really uninjured. From this point alone, the gap between Pushur and Kagaya is ridiculously big. For Jiraiya, facing Pushur who has a huge amount of chakra, he must fight quickly. If it's a war of attrition, the one who will eventually lose will be Jiraiya. He can only use more powerful moves. Outer space. Hinata opened the Tensigan to investigate around, and the artificial satellite also began to move around, looking for traces of Pushur in the ninja world. This guy. Hinata gritted his teeth at this critical period. If he doesn't care about Pushur's strength will definitely become stronger and stronger. Urishi can fish for ninja's chakra and thus master ninja's moves. And once Pushur learns the information of the organizations, he may seize the bijou. Where the hell did he go? If he's not in outer space, then he can only be in the ninja world. After searching for a long time without any results, Hinata pouted and felt a little discouraged. From the last battle with Pushur shouldn't have the ability to counter Omniscient and Omnipotent. Then if I use Omniscient and Omnipotent to launch the Yin-Yang seal. Hinata repeatedly considered the possibility of fighting Pushur in his mind, and suddenly felt that he may be invincible. Cough. She put her fist in front of her mouth and coughed lightly. Then her face turned serious. In that case, let's wait for Pushur to take the initiative to appear. Well, looking up at the moon. Do you want to go to the moon? Tonari, that guy. Hinata was a little nervous. Tonari's branch may still retain the information left by Otsutsuki Hamura, which may be helpful to Hinata's strength. Although the ninja world is far away from the moon, there is no resistance in space. Hinata can accelerate at full speed under the push of repulsion. And it is not impossible to reach the moon. Chapter 554. In the boundless space, a green light passed through like a meteor. Surrounded by deep darkness, the stars were inlaid under the sky, exuding a charming pale white halo. The planet below was getting smaller and smaller, and the bright moon above was getting bigger and bigger. From today on, please call me Hyuga Moon Goddess Chang-i Hinata. Hinata was in high spirits. As the first human to run to the moon, this is a small step for me, Hinata, but a big step for the ninja world. After many years, this scene can also be used as a story to brag to the younger generation. I, Hinata, stepped on the footprints of a human civilization on the moon. Scratching his head. That's not right. The first person to run to the moon in the ninja world should be Otsutsuki Hamura. But Hamura shouldn't be a human. Although in the anime plot, Kaguya married a human, according to the manga, Kaguya should have been blessed by her people to give birth to Hagoromo and Hamura. Well, they should be born with yin-yang release. So it seems that Hagoromo and Hamura are actually aliens, and although I also have alien blood over the years, Hinata suddenly thought of something. Although the Hyuga clan has been thriving in the ninja world for thousands of years, in order to maintain the purity of their bloodline, the Hyuga clan has never intermarried with outsiders. So, I'm actually an alien? Hinata suddenly stopped and looked at his hands in disbelief. Well, in fact, it's not unacceptable. But Hamura's wife should be from the ninja world without a doubt. As a family inherited from Otsutsuki Hamura, the skin color of the Hyuga clan is no different from the people of the ninja world. But Otsutsuki Tonari's skin color is similar to the Otsutsuki clan. Forget it. Hinata didn't care much. Aliens are aliens anyway. Hinata has never been from the ninja world. As a transmigrator, Hinata can accept any identity without psychological burden. The moon, we're almost there. In Mount Mayaboku, Fukasaku and Shima jumped onto Jiraiya's shoulder, preparing to absorb natural energy to help Jiraiya enter Sage mode. Jiraiya's expression did not change as he felt the natural energy flowing into his body. While controlling the natural energy to combine with chakra, he stared at Pushur's every move. He still needed to buy some time. Thinking of this, Jiraiya's eyes narrowed slightly. He looked at Pushur and asked, "You're not from this world?" Pushur. Why does it seem like everyone knows my background? What was going on in this world? When he accepted the task of the Otsutsuki main family, and came to the ninja world to recapture Kaguya's chakra fruit, Pushur didn't intend to make a big fuss at the beginning. Instead, he planned to keep a low profile and wait for the main family to send someone to cooperate with the other party to seize the chakra fruit. After all, Kaguya didn't come to the ninja world alone at the beginning, and Otsutsuki Ichiki acted with Kaguya. Whether it was investigating Kaguya's information or investigating Ichiki's information, it would take a certain amount of time. However, when Pushur arrived in the ninja world, He found that this world was unusual, and he felt the power of the same origin as his own. So he decided to take action decisively and recapture all the chakra. Pusher's chakra from another time and space, plus Kagaya's chakra fruit. The combination of the two is enough to make Pusher's power sublimate, and he will become one of the strongest even in the Otsutsuki clan. However, the development of things didn't go as smoothly as Pusher imagined. The indigenous people of this world not only have their own power system, but it seems that everyone knows Pusher. The black-haired native from before directly called out the name, Pusher. Pusher tilted his head and asked curiously, "You seem to know me?" "Sure enough," Jiraiya said in a deep voice. "So what is your purpose in coming to this world?" "It doesn't matter if I tell you," Pusher said leisurely. "Many years ago, our Otsutsuki clan planted a sacred tree on this planet, but the fruit of the sacred tree was stolen by a traitor of our clan. I came here to take back the power of the chakra fruit." Pointing to Naruto, Pusher said indifferently, "This fox is the power of our Otsutsuki clan." "Me?" Naruto was confused. "How did I become the power of the Otsutsuki clan?" Jiraiya's face was dignified. "Everything matches up. In Indra's genjutsu, the enemy from outside this world should be the Otsutsuki clan. I must tell Tsunade as soon as possible." Pusher continued. "I have answered your question, now it's your turn. I say, each of you seems to know me. Have you heard the rumors of my clan?" Jiraiya frowned slightly when he heard this. "You? Could it be that this guy met other people before coming to Mount Mayaboku?" Jiraiya explained. "I just heard some rumors by chance." "You just said you. Have you met other people before this?" Pusher's face turned black when he heard this. The experience of being beaten by Hinata is obviously a dark history of Pusher's life. Of course, he won't explain it to Jiraiya. Looking at Jiraiya, Pusher leisurely said, "Are you absorbing natural energy? I didn't expect you natives to be able to do this." Jiraiya was shocked when he heard this. This guy can actually perceive the existence of natural energy, worthy of being called the Great Enemy Clan. Pusher was also shocked at this moment. The natives of this world can cultivate natural energy. This is an ability that even the Otsutsuki clan can't master. Existences like the three Holy Lands are very few in the universe. Without a huge amount of natural energy, it is naturally impossible to cultivate Sage Mode. Even in the ninja world, Naruto and Jiraiya also need the assistance of toad oil to cultivate Sage Mode. Behind Pusher, the black space door slowly opened. "The Otsutsuki clan will eventually come and take back what belongs to us." Pusher looked at Naruto and said indifferently, "Before that, I will leave it to you." There is no way. Pusher only knows a few moves in total, now that he has used up all his 3 axes and still couldn't defeat Jiraiya. If he doesn't retreat, he will really be beaten. Unless he directly uses his big move, Pusher has no new moves. And after seeing the power of the natives of the ninja world, Pusher also has a new plan in his heart. Since he can't pinch the hard persimmon, he will first take the power of the natives. Even if the strength of an individual is weak, it can be gathered together. After absorbing the ninja's chakra, Pusher can master the ninja's moves, and it can also help Pusher better understand the power system of this world. See you next time. As soon as his voice fell, Pusher retreated into the space door and disappeared. Chapter 555. Compared with the ninja world, the moon is a lifeless world. There is no life here, there is no change in the weather, there is no change in the 4 seasons, there is no wind, and there is no rain. As far as the eye can see, there is only desolate scenery. Somewhere on the moon, a strange castle stands on the earth. This is the castle where the descendants of Otsutsuki Hamura have lived for generations. This branch inherited the surname, Otsutsuki, and lived on the moon for thousands of years. While guarding the ninja world, they are also responsible for guarding the seal of Otsutsuki Kagaya. In the empty and silent hall, Otsutsuki Tonari stood alone in front of the window. Through the window, he could clearly see the blue planet hanging in space. Tonari's eyes were closed. He has no eyes since he was born, but through the secret technique passed down by Otsutsuki Hamura, Tonari can still perceive what is happening in the ninja world. In fact, long before Tonari Otsutsuki was born, His father had a premonition that something big was going to happen in the ninja world. The mission of their clan is to guard the Geto Mazo sealed in the moon. Decades ago, Uchiha Madara had awakened the Rinnegan and channeled the Geto Mazo to the ninja world, and used the power of the Geto Mazo to extend his aging life. The movement of the Geto Mazo indicates that the ninja world will have a great change. Because of this, as early as when Tonari was very young, he came to the ninja world with his father to investigate the cause of the movement of the Geto Mazo. During that time in the ninja world, Tonari saw a little girl of the Hyuga clan through the unique way of the Otsutsuki clan. "We will meet soon," Tonari Otsutsuki murmured. Even if these eyes can't see anything, Tonari can still recall the voice and appearance of the little girl in his mind. Living in the dark for more than 10 years, the little girl he saw when he was a teenager can be said to be the only color in Tonari's life for more than 10 years. For thousands of years, the war in the ninja world has never stopped. The world created by the Six Paths Sannin has failed. This world, there is no need for it to exist. Like the Hyuga clan, Tonari's branch is also divided into the main family and the branch family. Unlike the main family who advocated peace, this branch family believed that the world created by the Sage of the Six Paths was a failure and should be destroyed. Many years ago, the branch family used the power of the Tensigen to destroy the main family at that time. And Otsutsuki Tonari was the last descendant of the branch family. This is all for Hamura's destiny. Outside the moon, Hinata's body flickered with green light as he looked at the strange-looking castle in the distance. He recalled the information he had read in his previous life about Otsutsuki Tonari. As her loyal follower, Hinata thought that Otsutsuki Tonari's idea was actually somewhat reasonable. Even if he had good intentions, the world created by the Sage of the Six Paths was undoubtedly a failure. Managing the world required a strong military force and strict enforcement of laws, not empty ideas and fantasies. The Sage of the Six Paths himself was a good person, so he imagined that everyone was a good person and placed the future of the ninja world on the good human nature, which is undoubtedly his biggest failure. Perhaps the Sage of the Six Paths had a premonition of the so-called child of the prophecy thousands of years ago, but entrusting everything to the future generations is undoubtedly irresponsible. But Hinata pinched his chin with 2 fingers and stared at the castle without blinking. Although Otsutsuki Tonari is not bad, from the original story, his temper is too stubborn. Not only does he want to destroy the ninja world, but he also wants to marry him. This is simply unforgivable. Fortunately, this guy is not hopeless. To deal with people like him, you just need to beat him up. Hinata was getting closer and closer to the castle. Through the power of the Tensigen, everything in the castle was seen by Hinata. It's all puppets. In Tonari's castle, there were human-shaped puppets everywhere, doing all kinds of cleaning work. Very high-level puppets, and in terms of appearance, they are more like humans than the puppets of the Sand Village. If you don't use the Byakugan, you can hardly see the difference. Unlike the puppets of the Sand Village, which relied on mechanisms to attack the enemy, the puppets in the castle didn't have many mechanisms. Instead, there were many jutsu sealed in the puppets, allowing the combat-type puppets to directly use chakra to attack. That's the space of reincarnation? Following the source of chakra supply, Hinata found the location of the space of reincarnation. The huge eye power and chakra in the yellow Tensigen provide a continuous supply of energy for the castle, and at the same time, protect the castle from being destroyed. Its power can even directly push the orbit of the moon. In the original story, Tonari seemed to want to use the power of this eye to destroy the ninja world and protect the castle from being destroyed. The power of this Tensigen has not been fully activated, but because of this, Hinata can see the terrible power contained in the Tensigen. Is this the direction of evolution of the Tensigen? Hinata stopped again, and didn't rush to meet Tonari. This castle built by Otsutsuki Hamura hides too many secrets. The Rinnegan is divided into ordinary Rinnegan, 6-Tomo Rinnegan, and Rinnegan Sharingan. Could it be that the Tensigen can also evolve to a higher level? In the original story of Naruto, Tonari tried to destroy the ninja world and recreate it. If the ninja world is destroyed, as a satellite of the ninja world, the moon will also be destroyed. However, Tonari was confident that as long as this yellow Tensigen exists, the castle will not be destroyed, and he and Hinata can sleep in the space of reincarnation until the world is rebuilt. Resist the destructive power of the explosion of a planet? This eye. How can it evolve? To be able to destroy a planet and recreate it, and at the same time resist the destructive power of the moon's explosion. Even the Rinnegan Sharingan doesn't have such power, right? This is completely beyond the realm of gods. In addition to combining the chakra of the Otsutsuki clan and the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan, the method to open the Tensigen is to integrate a large number of Byakugan to cause a qualitative change. Hinata analyzed in his heart. But this level of Tensigen, even if the power of the entire Hyuga clan is gathered, I'm afraid it may not be able to open it, right? How on earth did they do it? Hinata's eyes were slightly confused. Perhaps the purpose of this eye was created to suppress the Geto Mazo? Or to suppress the will of Kagaya? If the Geto Mazo has the ability of the sacred tree, and can absorb natural energy on its own to grow, then the natural energy absorbed by the Geto Mazo for thousands of years will be absorbed by this eye? Hinata suddenly thought of White Zetsu. If Hinata is right, as a war weapon secretly cultivated by Otsutsuki Kagaya using the sacred tree, if White Zetsu is cultivated for thousands of years, will it also have the power of this yellow Tensigen? Chapter 556. It's not Hinata's baseless guess. It's based on evidence, and he can even write a paper. Whether it's Otsutsuki Kagaya, Bordered Soil, Madara, or the Jubi's Jinchuriki, they can make the god tree reappear. The so-called infinite Tsukuyomi is to use the power of the god tree to create White Zetsu in the human body. So even if the Hagoromo Sannin pulled out the chakra of the Jubi, as the shell of the Jubi, the Geto Mazo can still absorb natural energy and transform it into its own power. If not, why would Hamura come to the moon and let his descendants guard the seal of Kagaya for generations? Hinata guessed that what Otsutsuki Hamura was really guarding should be the yellow Tensigen, and the ability of this eye is to suppress the Geto Mazo and not give it a chance to grow again. If that's the case, it can explain why the power of this eye is so exaggerated. Hinata pinched his chin with 2 fingers, and his eyes flashed with a greedy light. If I use my own Tensigen to absorb this yellow Tensigen, I don't know if it can evolve again. For a long time, Hinata has been planning the power of the Jubi. He wants to separate part of the Jubi's power and integrate it into his own body. What he values is the growth of the Jubi. As the ultimate weapon of Kagaya against the Otsutsuki clan, White Zetsu's current strength is completely unworthy of Kagaya's expectations. If Hinata's speculation is correct, then Otsutsuki Hamura stole the fruit of Kagaya and connected the Tensigen to the Geto Mazo through some means. Just like how he cultivated White Zetsu, he cultivated the yellow Tensigen. Hamura. It seems that Hinata didn't dare to act rashly. Is Otsutsuki Hamura really dead? At this moment, Hinata can't guarantee it. If Hamura really unintentionally opened the Tensigen after sealing Kagaya, and saw through the ability of the Geto Mazo, and then came to the moon alone with the excuse of guarding Kagaya, and stole the natural energy condensed by the Geto Mazo for thousands of years, it's scary to think about it. It wasn't Hinata's imagination running wild, but Hinata had no choice but to be careful. If there is only one Tensigen in the Tensigen, then what about the other Tensigen? Where did it go? It's impossible for Otsutsuki Hamura to have only one eye. Don't move. Before we know if Otsutsuki Hamura is still alive, we must not touch this eye. I hope I'm just overthinking things. At this moment, Hinata sincerely hoped that Otsutsuki Hamura would be like his brother, Six Paths Sannin, who came to the moon for the simple purpose of guarding the seal. However, from a certain point of view, Otsutsuki Hamura was even greater than Hagoromo Sannin. He came to the desolate moon alone, endured desolation and loneliness, and couldn't even enter the ninja world for generations. Was he only here to guard the seal? Fine. Hinata had to admit that some people were willing to pay any price for certain beliefs or missions. But what did Otsutsuki Hamura say before his death? It was precisely because of the misinterpretation of Otsutsuki Hamura's last words that the branch family destroyed the main family, and Otsutsuki Tonari had the idea of destroying the ninja world. Floating in the air, Hinata unconsciously floated back. Originally, he wanted to get the secret technique left by Otsutsuki Hamura from Tonari, but now it seems that this place can't be touched for the time being. Like the chakra fruit, Otsutsuki Hamura also stayed on the moon for 1,000 years. If he really stole the power of the sacred tree secretly as Hinata guessed, then Hamura's strength at this moment should be no weaker than Kagaya. Immortal. This is the real reason why Hinata guessed that Otsutsuki Hamura is not dead. This old fox. Hinata cursed. These old guys, one by one, know how to leave trouble for their descendants. Turning around, Hinata left the moon without hesitation. I'll be back. He gritted his teeth. Just wait for a while, let Hinata absorb the nine-tailed beast chakra source, and Hinata's strength will be further improved, and the application of yin-yang release will also reach a new height. At that time, Hinata may be able to see through the chakra left by the Sage of the Six Paths and ask Otsutsuki Hamura, what the hell is going on? And I will continue to make artificial satellites. Hinata made up his mind. The moon will be his first surveillance target in the future, and he will take a good look at what the hell Hamura is doing. Mount Mayaboku, seeing Pusher suddenly retreat, Jiraiya silently unlocked the Sage mode, and looked at the place where Pusher disappeared without saying a word. This level of spacetime ninjutsu means that Pusher can do a lot of things easily. As long as he wants to escape, no one can catch him. Lecherous Sage, who the hell is this guy? Naruto's face was full of dissatisfaction. Fukasaku and Shima also looked at Jiraiya. Jiraiya, is this the enemy from outside the world you mentioned before? Jiraiya nodded. Naruto, do you remember the genjutsu we saw with Hinata? They are already here. Naruto was puzzled for a moment, and then his face became serious. Lecherous Sage, let's continue to practice. At this point, all Naruto can do is to practice hard. He can't do anything without strength. Jiraiya touched Naruto's head. Naruto, you stay here, this is not a trivial matter. I must report to Tsunade immediately. Fukasaku-sanin, please. Fukasaku nodded. Understood. I will immediately arrange to send you out of Mount Mayaboku. Before that, Jiraiya, come with me to Toad Sage. Hearing this, Jiraiya looked happy. Has Great Toad Sanin woken up? Fukasaku nodded. Let's go. Child's mother, you stay with Naruto and continue to practice. The holy land of Mount Mayaboku, the place where Toad Sage has been sleeping. With half-squinted eyes, Toad Sage looked at Jiraiya and Fukasaku who were standing below, and after a long time, he suddenly sighed. Sigh. The ninja world is going to be troubled again. Toad Sage was a little emotional. As a toad who survived the Six Paths Sunnin period, he naturally knew about the aliens. Jiraiya, it seems that you should also know that the purpose of those people coming to the ninja world is to get the power of the tailed beast. As he speaks, Immortal Toad suddenly falls asleep. Jiraiya and Fukasaku. Oh. Toad Sage looked at Jiraiya and continued. About the origin of this clan, I must tell you now. Chapter 557. Sigh. The Great Toad Sage sighed faintly, and his eyes were slightly complicated. Most of the memories of 1,000 years have faded, but there are always some things that time can't erase. Things probably started a few years ago. As the Great Toad Sage slowly spoke, the expression on Jiraiya and Fukasaku's face changed, and there was some shock in their eyes. With the appearance of the genjutsu left by Indra, coupled with Jiraiya's investigation of the history of 1,000 years ago, there were some things that the Great Toad Sage didn't need to hide. However, the history of the Great Toad Sage and the history of Indra's genjutsu were slightly biased. In the Great Toad Sage's mouth, Hagoromo Sannin was naturally the righteous side, and Otsutsuki Kagaya who made white zetsu with a human body was the evil side. Of course, this was the truth. The matter of Otsutsuki Kagaya creating an army of white zetsu couldn't be cleared. Jiraiya listened to the Great Toad Sage's narration while analyzing in his mind. Creating white zetsu? Is white zetsu a member of the organizations? How is it related to Otsutsuki Kagaya? Combined with the information revealed by the Great Toad Sage, and what I saw in the genjutsu, Otsutsuki Kagaya created white zetsu to fight against the Otsutsuki clan? Then what happened to this clan? Countless doubts surged in Jiraiya's mind, and when he was about to ask, he saw that the great toad sage had fallen asleep again, and Jiraiya couldn't wake him up even after several calls. Fukasaku looked up at Jiraiya. Little Jiraiya, I will arrange for you to return to Shinobu. Okay. Jiraiya nodded solemnly. Shinobu, this village seemed to be aloof from worldly affairs, under the protection of tens of thousands of Shinobu ninjas. The fighting and war outside seemed to have nothing to do with this village. After being summoned by the toad to Shinobu, Jiraiya ran to Tsunade's office without stopping. Bang! Jiraiya pushed the door open and entered. Tsunade, I have important information to report to you immediately. Before he could finish his sentence, Jiraiya suddenly paused. At first, he was stunned before a trace of excitement appeared on his face. His nose was bleeding profusely as he clapped his hands and shouted, This is really huge. Jiraiya. Tsunade was also stunned when he saw Jiraiya. Then his face turned red and he said furiously, Didn't anyone tell you that you should knock before entering? Back to 1 minute ago, Tsunade, who was absent-minded, was dealing with official business while his thoughts were flying. For a while he was worried about the situation in the village, and for a while he was annoyed by the chaos in the fire ninja world. Sometimes he remembered the past of his youth, and sometimes he felt sad for the death of his younger brother and his lover. Unknowingly, Jiraiya's wretched face appeared in Tsunade's memory. In a panic, Tsunade knocked over the teacup on the desk, and the tea soaked the front of her clothes. While he was changing his clothes, Jiraiya hurriedly pushed the door open, and saw something big and white. Tsunade, I didn't see anything. No, Tsunade, don't worry, Jiraiya, will be responsible for you. Jiraiya panicked and spoke without thinking. Tsunade clenched his fists and was about to kill him. Jiraiya's eyes flashed and he hurriedly said, Tsunade, I really have important information to report to you. Tsunade frowned and stared at Jiraiya. If Jiraiya's information was not important, Tsunade dared to swear that from today onwards, he would become a Sannin. Jiraiya's face was serious. I just came back from Mount Mayaboku and saw enemies from outside the world. What? Tsunade's face changed greatly and said, They are already here. Mount Mayaboku. Their goal should be the 9 tails in Naruto's body. Thinking of this, Tsunade glared at Jiraiya. Jiraiya, how can you leave Naruto alone in Mount Mayaboku and come back by yourself? Jiraiya was stunned when he heard this. He just felt that Mount Mayaboku was very safe, and he was anxious to report to Tsunade, so he didn't think so much for a while. However, this Otsutsuki was not a person, but a family. Who knows how many people they sent to the ninja world? It's my negligence, Jiraiya said. Tsunade waved his hand. Let's talk about the specific situation first. Okay. Jiraiya pondered for a moment and said, Things are similar to what we guessed before. This family is not from the ninja world, but from another world. According to that person, the purpose of their coming to the ninja world is to plant the sacred tree and obtain powerful strength through the sacred tree. According to the great sage Toad, Otsutsuki Kagaya created something called White Zetsu. And according to what I saw in Indra's illusion, this White Zetsu should be a weapon to resist the Otsutsuki family. Jiraiya told Tsunade all the information he knew so far, as well as his own analysis. Tsunade, the Otsutsuki family has Byakugan, and Byakugan can evolve into Rinnegan. Jiraiya's face was serious. Hinata, could it be that she has already opened her eyes? Tsunade frowned slightly. It's not impossible. After thinking about it, Tsunade guessed, the Hyuga clan has always been very low-key, limited to taijutsu. Although the strength of this clan is good, it is difficult for strong people to appear. And since the Hyuga clan dares to make a move, it proves that they have the strength. Hinata's strength has reached this level. It seems that she should have awakened Rinnegan. After a pause, Tsunade waved his hand and said, Let's not talk about this for the time being. How is the strength of the Otsutsuki family? Jiraiya explained, Their ability is very tricky, but the other party seems to have no combat experience. If this family relies on swallowing the sacred tree's fruit to gain strength, then their strength has become strong from weak in an instant. I have fought with them, but, Tsunade asked, but what? Growth. Jiraiya said seriously. This family already has a strong strength. If they master ninjutsu, Tsunade frowned. Jiraiya said what she was worried about. The Otsutsuki family has a strong foundation and can easily learn all ninjutsu. Once there is a variety of fighting methods, their strength will change dramatically. What about Akatsuki? Tsunade asked tentatively. The purpose of the organization's collecting bijou, is it to rule the world or to fight against these people? Jiraiya shook his head. According to the great sage Toad, White Zetsu is not a person of this era. As for Nagato, he may have been used by others. Recalling the conversation with Yahiko during the Sanbai incident, Jiraiya's eyes were dignified. Perhaps the organization's internal affairs are not as simple as it seems on the surface. Chapter 558. Use, Tsunade frowned. Since she returned to Shinobu, she has always regarded the organizations as a great enemy. Especially after the Five Kages tournament, Tsunade learned about the mist, and her fear of the Akatsuki reached a new height. It wasn't until later that Jiraiya sent back information about the contents of Indra's genjutsu that Tsunade started to imagine the purpose of Akatsuki. But the organizations were being used for a moment. Tsunade thought of the man with the orange spiral mask. In Shinobu's confidential information, there are some records about this man. Especially after Sasuke killed Danzo, Tsunade received the information from Root and learned a lot of secrets. For example, the birth of the Rinnegan. Tsunade never thought that Danzo had already fought with the organizations more than 10 years ago, and even used despicable means to threaten the Akatsuki trio, which stimulated the awakening of the Rinnegan by the leaders of the organizations. But these things Tsunade never told Jiraiya. It's not that Tsunade didn't trust Jiraiya, but she didn't want Jiraiya to know the ugly things of the village. Some things one person is enough to bear. Ugh. The ninja world is really getting more and more chaotic. All kinds of demons and ghosts are coming out. Tsunade curled her lips. This Naruto is really not easy. The old man died early, and it can be regarded as a relief. Jiraiya patted Tsunade's shoulder. Don't worry, I'm here. Although it's not a bold statement, Jiraiya's firm belief can be felt. Tsunade glanced coldly at Jiraiya, and then her eyes softened a lot, and she nodded without saying anything. Jiraiya's face was full of joy, and his face was full of wretchedness, and he was about to take a step further. Tsunade snorted and shook off Jiraiya's hand. They have been friends for too long, but she still wasn't used to being too close to Jiraiya. Jiraiya, you go back to Mount Myaboku first. Naruto. I'm not sure. Jiraiya's face was serious. Don't worry. Hyuga residence. Hinata released the wood clone, and fell on the bed, didn't want to get up. It's too frustrating. Although all of this was just Hinata's own imagination, Hinata believed it completely. She had to be very careful when it came to the moon. Otsutsuki Hamura. What kind of person are you? Hinata couldn't wait for all her enemies to be as righteous as Jiraiya. On the contrary, the more wicked the enemy was, the harder it was to deal with them. It's definitely not an ordinary Tensigen. Hinata believed in his own judgment. It was because of the power of that eye that Hinata didn't dare to act rashly. If the other eye has the same power, and it's in Otsutsuki Hamura's body, then Hamura's strength is definitely not much weaker than Kagaya. And it's even possible for him to live for thousands of years. Hinata has always believed that for human beings, no one doesn't want to live forever, and no one can refuse great power. Even Hagoromo Sannin. Although he can't live forever as the Jubi's Jinchuriki, but after the death of his body, chakra and spiritual will get eternal life. Why did Hagoromo Sannin take out chakra to form the Jubi after sealing Otsutsuki Kagaya? Maybe it's to get the power of Kagaya. The two brothers, Hagoromo and Hamura, one got the chakra of the Jubi, and the other ran to the moon to get the shell of the Jubi. After sealing Kagaya, they divided the fruits of victory equally. Hamura perceived that Hagoromo was dead, and wanted to seize control of the ninja world. However, in today's ninja world, only Hagoromo Sannin, so Otsutsuki Hamura wanted to create a world that completely belonged to him. So Otsutsuki Hamura faked his death to get away, and left the last words to his descendants. If the world created by Hagoromo Sunnin fails, I will destroy the world and recreate the world. If not, even if the ninja world is constantly killing, it only needs to be corrected. Why do you have to make such an exaggeration like destroying the world and creating the world? As far as conspiracy theories are concerned, Hinata's imagination is completely possible. The more Hinata thought about it, the more scared he was. Originally, he thought that the opponent was only Uchiha Madara, and at most there was Otsutsuki Kagaya, who was a 1,000-year-old otaku. He didn't expect that there were 2 hidden 1,000-year-old ghosts. Maybe my guess is wrong, maybe Hamura is a good person, and he is willing to leave this world and guard the seal alone on the desolate moon, and let his descendants guard it for generations. I must get the 9-tailed beast chakra source as soon as possible. Hinata made up his mind he can't live like this anymore, thinking that he has 2 cards to play. The battle with Nagato must be accelerated. Tenseigan Awakening. Hinata connected to the satellite's visual sharing and found Orochimaru's secret base. There are only 2 people in the base. Orochimaru has been replaced with Urushi's clone, and 2 Byakugan transplanted. One of the Byakugan is Kirigakure's, and the other is Urushi's from another time and space. Although Urushi's eyes can't open the 6 Tomo Rinnegan, ordinary Rinnegan is no problem. Orochimaru's power has undergone a qualitative change. His strong physical fitness allows Orochimaru to easily use some forbidden techniques, including the perfect Edo Tensei. He believes that when Orochimaru appears again, he will definitely bring a surprise to the world. As for Sasuke, he has now been transplanted with Hashirama's cells, and is now in a coma. In Hinata's Byakugan vision, the 2 forces in Sasuke's body are constantly fighting, and at the same time, the 2 forces that are completely repelling each other are producing new changes. The 2 opposites are interacting with each other. Hinata nodded with satisfaction. If the strength of his younger brother is improved, he can get more benefits as the master. The key is that it doesn't take too much effort. Orochi-san, Hinata greeted, and without waiting for Orochimaru to answer, he directly asked for some materials to make puppets and a super telescope. What do you want these for? Orochimaru was a little puzzled. Hey, don't worry about it, I'm sure it's useful. Hinata laughed and then said, when Sasuke opens his eyes and familiarizes himself with it, you can go directly to Amage Cure. Orochimaru's eyes flickered. Oh? Is it finally going to start? Yes. Hinata nodded. By the way, did Sasuke tell you? The people of the Otsutsuki clan have already come to the ninja world. If we don't act quickly, there may be new variables. Orochimaru's mouth slightly raised, and his tone was playful. Sasuke did say something, that Otsutsuki. As soon as he heard Orochimaru's words, Hinata guessed his thoughts. Obviously, Orochimaru also regarded Urashi as a tonic, and was ready to gain strength from him. Hinata snorted. Then let's see who's faster. Chapter 559. After hanging up the communication with Orochimaru, Hinata searched for traces of Urashima in the satellite's coverage area. In the Byakugan's vision, Chakra's huge number of people was like the bright moon in the dark night, almost visible at a glance. This is... In the land of lightning outside the Cloud Village, 6 huge chakra were extremely dazzling. Adjusting the Byakugan's vision angle, the 6 people's faces were clearly visible. Sure enough, it's 6 paths Pain. Could it be? Pain is going to attack the Cloud Village and kidnap Killer Bee? Hinata was excited. Pain is going to do something big. With Reikich's violent temper, if Cloud Village was attacked by Pain, and Killer Bee was forcibly kidnapped, I'm afraid he would immediately declare war on Akatsuki. Wait. Declare war? Hinata frowned slightly, and he felt that something was wrong. Although he had almost forgotten his memory of Naruto, Hinata still vaguely remembered that Killer Bee was not usually in the Cloud Village, but somewhere alone. But Nagato was preparing to attack the Cloud Village at this moment. Could it be that Nagato doesn't have specific information about Killer Bee? Is it the Bordered Soil's idea? Or is Black Zetsu also involved? Once the Cloud Village is attacked by Pain, Reikage will propose to convene the 5 Kages conference and join forces with the 5 major ninja villages to fight against the organizations. According to Hinata and Black Zetsu's plan, when the Hachibi is sealed, Hinata will immediately attack Nagato, and then forcibly control Nagato to use the Rinna Tensei Jutsu. Orochimaru and Sasuke will also arrive at the Rain Village at the same time. Orochimaru will use the Edo Tensei to summon Uchiha Madara, and Sasuke will use the power of Rinnegan to seize control of the Geto Mazo and seize some of the Bija's chakra. Is it the Bordered Soil's plan? The current situation seemed chaotic, but in reality, it was already very clear. The Bordered Soil was alone and could not make any waves. However, Pooh's sudden intrusion had added a few variables to the plan. While Hinata was pondering, Pain had already launched his attack. Pain's tactics were still the same old routine. Tendo used Shinra Tensei to bounce Chikishoto into the air, and then Chikishoto used the psychic technique to communicate with the other 5. In this way, they can mislead the Cloud Village and make the Cloud Village's perception squad unable to determine the specific number of enemies. Boom, boom, boom. Pain's action was very decisive. As soon as the 6 paths of Pain separated, the Cloud Village fell into war. The huge summon beasts destroyed everything. The streets were instantly turned into ruins, and the houses collapsed in an instant. As expected, Hinata muttered to himself. Omniscient and omnipotent, Hinata teleported to the sky near the Cloud Village. With the power of the Tensigen, he looked down at the Cloud Village's battle situation. In addition to Chikishoto, Ashuradu, and Gikido, Tendo, Gendo, and Jigakudo were acting secretly. They seemed to be collecting information about Hachibi. Reikage's office. Damn it. Damn Akatsuki. Standing by the window, Reikage looked through the window and saw the explosion spreading across several blocks. His face was furious. He smashed the office wall with a punch and rushed out without thinking. Reikage-sama. Ma Bai's face was dignified. Seeing that Reikage had disappeared from sight, she quickly turned and ran out of the office, preparing to mobilize the Ambu to support Reikage. Boom! A blue figure fell from the sky like lightning, and the giant centipede's head exploded instantly. Reikage's body flashed with blue lightning. The ground under his feet was broken, and his face was pale as he looked at the ruins in front of him and the ninjas and civilians under the ruins. Reikage-sama. After several consecutive teleportations, more than a dozen ninjas stood around Reikage. One of them reported. Reikage-sama, the village was attacked by unknown people, not counting the summon beasts. There are at least 3 people. In addition, the eyes of these summon beasts seem to be the Rinnegan in the intelligence. Reikage's eyes swept around, and a huge eagle swooped down from the sky, flying quickly close to the ground, and the air waves caused by the high-speed flight instantly crushed the entire street into ruins. And the eyes of this eagle were the Rinnegan. Damn it! Reikage gritted his teeth. The organizations dared to attack the Cloud Village. Immediately search for the enemy's traces and report to me. Reikage roared, and the ground under his feet exploded instantly, and he rushed to the place where the explosion was the most concentrated. Hey, it's a heavy loss. Hinata sat in the sky, pinched his chin with 2 fingers, and looked at the battle below and shook his head slightly. The Cloud Village didn't have a summon beast like Tsunade, who could protect the entire village in an instant. Once Reikage angered Pain with his words, Pain would really give the Cloud Village a hard time. If this is the case, what will happen next? Hinata silently analyzed. The Cloud Village will no longer be one of the 5 great ninja villages, and it will take a lot of time to rebuild the village. While the other villages are afraid of the power of the organizations, they may choose to join forces against the organizations under the push of Tsunade and Mei. Well, in this way, even if there is no bordered soil to declare war, once the plan to resurrect Madara is leaked, or the information about the Jubi is leaked, the 5 great ninja villages are likely to directly attack the Rain Village. Is this bordered soil's plan to save himself? Taking advantage of the chaos to seize Nagato's Rinnegan. Rumble. A huge explosion came from below, and Hinata turned his gaze. The houses of the Cloud Village collapsed in an instant, and Reikage's body was blooming with lightning, standing proudly in the ruins, and at his feet was Pain, who was no longer human. Well, the other 5 pains sensed at the same time, and turned to look at Reikich's position. Tenshinto slowly floated into the air, and flew in the direction of Reikich. Along with Tenshinto, Ashuradu and Jigakudo also acted. Reikich. Tenshinto's pain fell from the sky, looking at Reikich with no emotion in his eyes. Hand over the Hachibi Jinchuriki. Pain's tone was flat, as if he was stating a fact, and as if God was giving orders to ants. Are you the leader of the organizations? Looking at the surrounding ruins, listening to the explosions and screams in the distance, Reikich's anger reached the extreme. Pain said faintly, I don't want to destroy this place, hand over the Hachibi Jinchuriki. Whoosh. Reikich's speed was so fast that it was difficult to see with the naked eye. When Reikich's elbow was within 1 meter of Pain, Pain faintly heard the sound of Reikich's footsteps on the ground. Pain's eyes were still calm without the slightest color. Boom. Shinra Tensei. How fast the Reikich rushed over was the same as how fast the Reikich flew out. With Pain as the center, everything spread out under the push of the repulsion. Chapter 560. Rumble. Under the Shinra Tensei, everything within a radius of 100 meters was razed to the ground, and the ruins of houses and mud piled up in a circle. Smoke and dust rose in the sky, and Tenshinto looked at the ruins indifferently. Half of Reikich's body was pressed under the rubble, and one of his legs was exposed, and the lightning on his body had dissipated. Tenshinto Pain straightened his right hand, and a black light flickered in his palm, and Reikich was directly pulled out of the ruins by Pain. Banzho Tensei. Is this the taijutsu of the cloud-hidden village? Hinata floated in the air and watched with relish. If he didn't forget to bring food, Hinata even wanted to eat a bag of melon seeds. In the original work, Pain's attack on Shinobu could be said to be the most glorious battle in his life. This battle showed the glory of the Rinnegan, and it also made a group of Naruto fans like this tragic character. There were also a few words, a bag of rice needs to be carried several floors, which were played by Naruto fans. However, that battle was also the battle of Pain's curtain call. And now, Pain's attack on the Cloud Village may be the peak of Pain's life. But, compared to Tsunade, Reikich was obviously not the type of person who talked nonsense. If he spoke less, he could avoid angering Pain, but at the same time, Pain would not directly resurrect everyone with the art of reincarnation after awakening like in the original work. Hinata carefully hid his figure and chakra to prevent being seen. Hinata's position was very high, and if you look from the ground, you can't see Hinata's figure at all. The reason why Hinata couldn't wait to come to the Cloud Village to watch the battle was to satisfy his curiosity, but he also wanted to see the final result of the battle and guess the Bordered Soils plan. More importantly, whether Black Zetsu was involved. Hinata wasn't a suspicious person, but no matter how innocent he was, he couldn't resist his father's constant exhortations, filling Hinata's little head with all sorts of conspiracy theories. In addition, Hinata had been poisoned by the internet in his previous life, so it was natural for him to overthink things. Cloud Village Battlefield. This is affected by the gravitational pull of Wanxiang Tianan. Reikich couldn't control his body at all. His whole body flew towards Pain at an extremely fast speed. Controlling repulsion and gravity? Reikich instantly judged Pain's ability. His whole body was covered with lightning again. He adjusted his body and let Tenzin attract him. In terms of close combat, Reikich was never afraid of anyone. Lightning-released taijutsu gave Reikich the speed, strength, and defense of the ninja world. Although his strength was not as good as Tsunade's, his defense was not as good as Susanu's, and his speed was not as good as the fourth generation's. But if the three were combined in one person, it would be extremely terrifying. The distance between Tiandao and Lei Ying was quickly closing. Lei Ying's eyes flashed with killing intent, but Tiandao was still staring at Lei Ying without any emotion. Whoosh. A figure fell from the sky and hugged Reikich from behind. The two fell to the ground with a bang. The lightning around Reikich's body quickly faded, and his whole body seemed to be dispirited. Gikido. Whoosh. Two more Pains fell beside Reikich and surrounded him with Tiandao. For the last time, where is the Hachibi's Jinchuriki? Tiandao asked indifferently. Damn it. Reikich's face was ferocious, and his eyes were about to pop out. However, Gakido's absorption jutsu not only absorbs the refined chakra, but it also absorbs the physical energy and spiritual energy in the form of chakra. At this time, Reikich didn't even struggle. As long as he relaxed a little, he would immediately faint. Tisk! Hinata shook his head. Reikich was too careless, too impulsive, too arrogant. Shinobu has already informed the major ninja villages about Pain's information, so Reikich should be aware of it. However, looking at Reikich's appearance, he obviously thought that he could kill Pain by himself, so he rushed forward without thinking. In fact, Reikich wasn't stupid. After all, his opponent was the legendary Rinnegan. Since Reikich was the leader of a village, of course, he wouldn't be so careless. On the contrary, Reikich studied the abilities of the Rinnegan more than once, and he thought more than once about what would happen if he fought against the Rinnegan. However, the result of Reikich's serious thinking was that he had the power to fight. And the reason why Reikich came to this conclusion was because of Hinata. Although Hinata is a pure taijutsu ninja, his fighting style is similar to Reikich's, and even his tactics are somewhat similar. It's nothing more than crushing the opponent with powerful destructive power, super fast movement speed, and attack speed. Reikich asked himself that his speed and attack weren't bad, so he naturally felt that he could beat Pain. However, Hinata's strongest point was insight. Whether it was the Byakugan or natural perception, Hinata could perceive Pain's attack and the other Pain's position. You know, there are 6 Pains. Reikich didn't have the ability to perceive, so naturally, he was attacked by Gakido. Huh. Hinata turned his head. Killer Bee actually ran out on his own. Now things were getting interesting. The battle between Pain and Hachibi is quite interesting. He glanced at the Cloud Village. Although the incident happened suddenly, the Cloud Ninjas had evacuated the civilians and were now fighting with the Chikishodo. During the battle, more than 1/3 of the buildings in the Cloud Village have collapsed. Since the civilians have been evacuated, Hinata was relieved to watch the show. Roar! Reikich struggled with all his strength, but the ninja who lost his chakra had no room to resist. You don't want to talk. Tenzin's eyes were cold. At this moment, the scene was very similar to the scene when Danzo and Hanzo joined forces to threaten him. With Conan's life, they threatened Nagato to kill Yahiko. Although this is not Shinobu, the Cloud Village is also one of the 5 great ninja villages. Seeing Reikich's anger with a hint of contempt in his eyes, Pain's killing intent skyrocketed, and the black iron rod in Tenzin's hand instantly pierced into Reikich's head. Pucci. Blood splashed, and Reikich died on the spot. Brother. A heart-wrenching roar sounded. Killer Bee stood on the periphery of the ruins, and he was no longer in the mood to joke. He looked at Reikich lying in a pool of blood, and half of his body was paralyzed. In an instant, Pain turned his head at the same time. Hachibi. Jinchuriki. Tenzin slowly turned around and said indifferently, "You are finally here." Why? Killer Bee couldn't believe that his brother, Reikich of the Cloud Village, died like this. You ask me why? Tenzin looked at Killer Bee indifferently, and said without the slightest emotion, "His death can promote peace. And you will make the ninja world have no more wars." Chapter 561. What did you say? Killer Bee couldn't believe his ears. As a bystander, he didn't think there was anything wrong with Pain's words. But as the person involved, Pain's words, coupled with the tone of his voice, and his attitude of looking down on all living beings, it was like a supreme god judging mortals. This wasn't contempt, it was a matter of course. Killer Bee was furious. He glanced at Reikich, who was lying at Pain's feet. His eyes were bloodshot, and the red-tailed beast's chakra instantly spread all over his body. He roared and charged at Pain. Roar! Before he rushed to Pain, Killer Bee had already entered the second state of the Bijou mode. His whole body was red, and he looked like a small Hachibi. Die. It was a long time to say, but in fact, it was just a flash of red light, and Killer Bee had already rushed in front of Tenshinto like a missile. Wherever he passed, the earth cracked, and a deep mark was left on the ground. Shinra Tensei. Boom. Pain still had 6 people, and Killer Bee's speed was too fast, and Gakido had no time to block Tenshinto. A repulsive force that could topple mountains and overturn seas surged out, and the ground rolled out in all directions like waves. Killer Bee's whole body was fixed in the air for a second, and then he flew out like a cannonball. In the explosion, Killer Bee flew hundreds of meters away, hitting dozens of houses in a row, and was crushed under the collapsed rubble. Killer Bee-sama. Several figures appeared in the surrounding ruins, and a large number of Cloud Ninjas followed. Seeing Killer Bee was repelled by Pain, the Cloud Ninjas wanted to rush up and fight with Pain. That's Raikage-sama. The corpse at Pain's feet made all the Cloud Ninjas stunned at the same time. The invincible Raikage died in the battle. Unlike other ninja villages, the Cloud Village is a village where the fighting school is in charge. Raikage was aggressive, but he was loyal. Although Raikage was the leader of the Cloud Village, he was like a brother to the ninjas in the village. For example, the third Raikage was surrounded by 10,000 ninjas from various villages. In order to make the Cloud retreat, he chose to fight alone for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, he died of exhaustion. But because of this, among the 5 great ninja villages, the Cloud Village had the least amount of rebellious ninjas. Inside the organizations, there were Shinobu, Mist Shinobu Sato and Rock ninjas but no Cloud ninjas. For the ninjas of the Cloud Village, Raikage is not only their leader, but also their elder brother. He is an invincible faith. And now their faith had been destroyed. Their elder brother had died in battle. Avenge Raikage-sama. Kill him. Go. The Cloud Ninjas' eyes were bloodshot, and their eyes were moist, but they still rushed toward Pain. Heavenly God Dao Pain stretched out his hands. 3, 2, 1 Shinra Tensei. Kill, kill, kill. Kill. However, it was too late. The invisible repulsive force swept out like a tsunami, and the Cloud Ninjas couldn't even touch Pain's clothes, and their shurikens were fixed in the air. In the next second, everything around Tenzin flew backward at the same time, and hundreds of corpses were added to the ruins. As if he had done something insignificant, Priest of Sky Supreme calmly retracted his hands and looked at Killer Bee indifferently. Bansho Tensei. The gravity was activated and Killer Bee was instantly dragged out, and his whole body flew toward Tenzin. Ah! Killer Bee screamed, and a small black ball quickly condensed in front of his mouth, and in a blink of an eye, it was the size of a basketball. Baijidama. Boom. Seeing his elder brother die, seeing hundreds of Cloud Ninjas die, Killer Bee was so angry that he almost lost his mind. He completely forgot that he was still in the Cloud Village, and launched the Baijidama regardless. Pain's eyes were dignified. The cooldown of Shinra Tensei was a huge flaw, and the Baijidama was faster than normal under the influence of gravity. Kikido instantly stood in front of Tenzin. Absorption seal. Boom. The Baijidama hit the white transparent barrier, and the Baijidama that was enough to destroy half of the Cloud Village quickly shrank and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Hinata was silent. There was nothing to see in this battle. The Rinnegan could suppress the tailed beasts and Killer Bee had no chance of winning. Not to mention the Rinnegan, even the Mangekyo couldn't be resisted by the tailed beasts. Moreover, with the insight of the Rinnegan, it was difficult for Killer Bee to escape with his tail. There is no trace of the bordered soil. Did he not come? Hinata's natural perception and good and evil perception were fully spread, but not to mention the bordered soil. Even White Zetsu was not nearby. At the end of this battle, Nagato will have 8-tailed beasts in his hands. As for the Nanabai, Hinata certainly knew that Shinobu sent people to the Takigakure to discuss and prepare to transfer the Nanabai's Jinchuriki for protection. Speaking of which, this was the inspiration brought by Hinata. Hinata's threat to Pain during the Sambai incident was actually the best way to protect the tailed beasts. The Akatsuki should be able to deal with it too. Then the next step is to let Orochimaru summon Namikaze Minato and forcibly strip the 9 tails. When the 9-tailed beasts are gathered, Otsutsuki Kagaya will come to the ninja world again. At that time, Hinata's path to StarCraft will be unimpeded. But before that, Nagato must die, because he can't help Black Zetsu complete the infinite Tsukuyomi. In addition, Hinata planned to kill Urashi before killing Nagato. Before, Hinata's strength was insufficient, and there was the future Sasuke and Sunflower, Hinata couldn't absorb Urashi's power alone. But this time it was different. Hinata planned to absorb all of Urashi's chakra and master the space-time ninjutsu, Neon by Ryazaka, to add another trump card for himself. And Urashi's memory may also need to be searched. Moon. Hinata slightly raised his head. Well, it's still daytime, and the moon is still on the other side of the ninja world. That I must also be obtained. That's the eye of the Geto Mazo, the body of the sacred tree. It took thousands of years to breed. And its power is definitely not weaker than Kagaya's Rinsei Sharingan. And Hinata had another idea. Is the eye between reincarnation 1,000 years old, or 500 years old? If that eye is just the power absorbed by the sacred tree for 500 years, then it can prove that Hamura is still alive in this world. And the other Tensei eye is in Hamura's body. Looking down at the battle in the Cloud Village, Hinata's figure slowly disappeared into the sky. Urashi, I must get you. Chapter 562. Hinata had just left the Cloud Village, and Pushur appeared here. The black space door slowly opened, and Pushur silently appeared in the corner of the Cloud Village. Looking at the ruins of the battlefield in front of him, Pushur's eyes were slightly happy. He didn't expect to collect some chakra so soon. Although Pushur is arrogant, he is not brainless. The power of the ninja world is not weak, and Pushur has just arrived in the ninja world. He knows nothing about this world. What's more, there is Hinata in this world who can kill him in an instant. That's right. After retreating from Mount Mayaboku, Pushur carefully lurked and inquired about information, and finally learned something about the ninja world. For example, the 5 major ninja villages, such as the organizations that have been collecting bijou, and so on. In addition, Pushur also inquired about some information about the Hyuga clan. It can't be helped, who let others see Pushur's eyes and first recognize him as a member of the Hyuga clan. Sure enough, he is a descendant of Kagaya. But what's going on with that woman's eyes? When he thought of the information he just inquired, Pushur's mind was full of paste. Why did the Byakugan evolve into such eyes? And that black-haired boy, what's going on with his dojutsu? Did the chakra fruit mutate? Thinking of this, Pushur's heart was excited, and he was more interested in the chakra fruit in this world. If I can collect all the chakra, maybe I can reach that step. But before that, after a few battles, Pushur also recognized how weak he was. Not to mention the few people who fought before. The 2 people fighting in this village have the power to fight against Pushur. It turned out to be the Rinnegan. Perceiving the battle in the distance, Pushur's eyes moved slightly. The Rinnegan also appeared in this world. Could it be that the Byakugan has 2 directions of evolution? Pushur carried the red light fishing rod. He always felt that this world seems to have a lot of secrets. Who is it? It's the Byakugan. Are you a member of the Hyuga clan? Several figures appeared in an instant, for Umbu of the Cloud Village surrounded Pushur in groups of 2. Shinobu's people? What is your purpose in coming to the Cloud Village? A Cloud Umbu coldly asked. Pushur's eyes flashed slightly. Sure enough, did he think that Seo was a member of the Hyuga clan? Urashi tilted his head and said with a playful tone, I am Urashi Hyuga, and as for the purpose of coming here, of course, it is to kill you. As soon as his voice fell, Pushur instantly threw out the red light fish hook in his hand. A hidden Cloud Dark Unit member couldn't dodge in time, and was instantly hooked away by Pushur. Swoosh swoosh. Seeing that their companion had been plotted against, the remaining 3 hidden Cloud Dark Unit members no longer had any scruples. The 3 of them simultaneously formed hand seals. Earth Escape, Swamp of the Underworld. The ground beneath Pushur's feet instantly turned into a swamp. Pushur was caught off guard, and the lower half of his body instantly sank into the swamp. This move again. The repulsive force was activated, and Pushur was preparing to fly into the sky and launch an attack from above. Earth Escape, Heavenly Clay. Above Pushur's head, an extra-dimensional passageway opened in the void. Dark red mud fell from the sky and smashed onto Pushur's head. Fire Escape, Fire Dragon Technique. Whoosh whoosh. The hot flames burned the soil, and the soft clay gradually became as hard as iron under the burning of the flames. When the fire dissipated, a dark red stone was slowly sinking into the swamp. Although Pusher was caught off guard, he was not without resistance. This level of ninjutsu couldn't control him. However, Pusher at this moment had a curse in his heart, but he didn't know whether to say it or not. Shinra Tensei. Bam! The repulsive force instantly exploded, and the red stone wrapped around Pusher burst open. Under the effect of the repulsive force, the broken stone was like a cannonball, and instantly tore apart the bodies of the 3 Hidden Cloud Dark Unit members. Poof! The bodies of the 3 Hidden Cloud Dark Unit members were instantly torn apart, and blood gushed out, and the ground was scarlet. The sound of the battle attracted a large number of Cloud Shinobis. That's the Rinnegan. He's not wearing the Akatsuki uniform. Who is this guy? Dozens of Cloud Shinobis surrounded Pusher, and after seeing Pusher's eyes, all of them were stunned. Hey, I heard that the 6 Rinnegan are actually puppets. This guy? Is he the leader of the organizations? A Cloud Shinobi showed a trace of fear, and he felt that he had discovered the truth of the matter. This is the leader of the organizations, the most mysterious big boss in the ninja world. Even the village leaders don't know the true identity of this person, and he didn't expect that he would discover it. Will I be killed to silence the witness? Pusher was also stunned at this moment. Wasn't he Hyuga Pusher? When did he become the leader of the organizations? Pusher disdained to pretend to be someone else, and with his pride as a member of the Otsutsuki clan, he wouldn't change his surname. Not to mention that Pusher's pride didn't allow him to do so. If other people knew, they wouldn't let him go. But Pusher was ambitious. For this world's chakra, Pusher was determined to obtain it. However, for Hinata's strength, Pusher was deeply afraid. Whether it is Sasuke or Jiraiya, although their strength is good, they don't have the ability to kill Pusher. Yes, they may be able to suppress Pusher with combat experience, but they don't have the power to kill him. But Hinata has. At the moment when he was subdued by Hinata, Pusher really felt death. If it weren't for Hinata and Sasuke at that time, Pusher felt that there was no possibility for him to escape. Coupled with Hinata's attack at that time, Pusher looked back dozens of times, but he couldn't find the slightest way to avoid it. For Pusher, it was a killing move that he absolutely couldn't avoid. Because of this, Pusher decided to use the Byakugan to pretend to be a member of the Hyuga clan, to find some trouble for Hinata, and buy some time for himself. However, yes, it's the Byakugan. Pusher thought in his heart, in order to escape he had to use Shinra Tensei, so the Byakugan naturally became the Rinnegan. No wonder he was misunderstood. Pusher's eyes swept around. The 4 people who know that my name is Hyuga Pusher are all dead. Damn it. Pusher cursed in his heart. At this point he can only kill everyone present, and then reappear in the image of the Byakugan, and continue to pretend to be a member of the Hyuga clan. Thinking of this, Pusher's eyes flashed with killing intent. The Kumo Jonin who discovered Pusher's true identity secretly said not good. This guy really intends to kill everyone. Sankin. This guy is the leader of the organizations. You immediately go and report the situation here to Reikage-sama. Kumo Jonin's eyes flashed coldly and shouted. Others, come with me to stall this guy. Be sure to let Sankin pass the information. It's about the future of the shinobi world. Let's fight to the death. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.